Hello. Let me know if you guys can hear me. In the meantime, I will say hello to Goofus, Destroyer of Worlds. I saw you in chat earlier when I was setting things up. And 11, and Prince King, and Andrea, and Sat, some dude with Half Alive, Lord King Kang, Ransock, and Treeman, Arad. See if I missed anyone, but I think that's everyone. Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Hey Diamond Block. And yes, I think that's everyone. I'm about to turn on my tablet, so this is my machine, it's not yours. Okay, there we go. I always have to say that because I know that when I'm watching a stream, let me just turn these off. When I'm watching a stream and somebody else's computer starts doing things like that, I always get confused for a second whether it's my machine or their machine that's making noise. But so I'm always like, oh no, this isn't your machine, it's mine. But hey everyone, hope you're doing well. I have somehow once again managed to sync up my stream to happen the day after a major game release. If you've been watching the Mass Effect streams, I managed to play Mass Effect, or stream Mass Effect, the day after Baldur's Gate 3 happened, and then after, like, the day or 2 days after Armored Core happened, and apparently Mario Wonder came out yesterday. So, I hope you guys are doing well, those who are here not playing Mario. Let me just jump here so that we're not taking too long to say hi. I don't actually know what we're drawing today, so I don't know if you guys have any ideas. I know there's a bunch of stuff out at the moment, but usually what I do is I draw based on what I'm making a video on after it releases. However, I'm still busy with the My Adventures with Superman video. Hold on, let me just adjust my mic. There we go. So I'm still busy with the My Adventures with Superman video. However, the studio that I worked for took on a very ambitious project. So there's a lot of sakuga in it. And because I'm very quick at what I do, they will push like the sakuga scenes for what we're working on for me to color and clean up, because I do it very quickly. So this entire week has just been me like working non-stop to get these scenes out on time. So I have had to work very slowly on the Superman video, and that's why it's a little behind schedule. I was hoping to get it out earlier. Something Silent Hill for Halloween? I would, but Silent Hill is like very in-depth when it comes to art, because it's more realistic. So there's like a lot of detail, and I think Silent Hill art, it more relies on like a painterly effect to really communicate the horror of the character designs and stuff, which isn't really my forte. And you know, I'm on stream in front of an audience, so it's always like I gotta draw something that's at least somewhat in my wheelhouse, because it's difficult to talk and interact with chat and draw at the same time. It's not like impossible, it's just it does half my attention a little bit, especially if I'm trying to get a picture finished within the stream, because I'd hate to leave you guys off with like a half finished picture. I think that's very unsatisfying for a stream. Who are we gonna draw? I'm not sure. A friend of mine, I don't know if she's in chat or not, I haven't seen her, she pointed me towards the Amazing Digital Circus, because originally I was thinking of drawing Elephant Peach because Mario Wonder came out yesterday, but we drew Peach last time, and then people reminded me it was Halloween, because we don't really do Halloween in my country. So I always forget that that's like a thing. Like I'm aware of it being a thing on Tumblr, but then I forget that it's like a real holiday that people actually celebrate. And I'm like, oh, maybe that would be a cool theme for the stream. So today I was like downloading a bunch of like Halloween stuff. But I was thinking of drawing maybe Pomni from the Amazing Digital Circus, because that seems to be pretty, like, that's an art style that's pretty easy to nail in a stream while I'm talking. And that pilot is an insane runaway success. It came out a week ago. It's at 7 days and it's got like 12 million views. It took like Lackadaisy, I think it took them like a week to get to 1 million views. An Amazing Circus, I mean, 12 in a week? That's insane. You guys thinking Pomni? I think Pomni, she's pretty cute. I do like her design. I think it's a cool design. It reminds me a little bit of Nights into Dreams in a weird way. Except that it doesn't look like Nights into Dreams at all. But maybe you know what I mean. That's pretty big. Let's bring her down a little bit. Not keep her rich. Okay, aspect ratio. Keep. Bring her down so I have space to draw. There we go. And I like the concept of the short. I felt that 18 million views, it's ridiculous. It's so insane. But I mean, it's Goosework, right? And Goosework is already like independently popular. So I assume that also helped a lot with just getting the word out. Because people were like, oh, it's a Gooseworks thing, so I want to watch it. Whereas Lackadaisy, yes, Trace, I think it's Tracy. Tracy has been working on Lackadaisy for like well over a decade now, like on DeviantArt and things. But Tracy hasn't really had a YouTube presence as far as I know before Lackadaisy. So she kind of had to build that audience from scratch. Whereas Gooseworks, I think, has a very sizable YouTube presence already. What pose do I want her to be in? Let me think about that before I start talking about like my opinion. Pomni and Jax are currently my favorite characters at this point. Do you mean Jax from where? I wanted to say Jack and Daxter, but I combined the two names in my head, and that's not what you mean at all. Scared pose? Yeah, I'm wondering like how though, because scared, what you usually do for a scared character is you make them like this. I suppose we can do that. I'm just worried about like hiding a lot of her costume if I don't get her pose correctly. Bring this down here. Because usually what you do for a scared character, you do this, and you have them like this, And then you bring in their arms like this, but then what that does is it hides a lot of the costume. Oh wait, I have an idea. What if we bring her body like this? I'm gonna erase these because these were very quick and messy. Let's bring this up a bit. What if instead of bringing her hands into her middle, which is going to hide a lot of her costume, we bring her legs like this. See, she has such a nice character design for animation. Like, just having these big chunky shoes for one thing, it really grounds her character, which is really cool. I think that's a very cool design choice. How do we want to do this? Do this. Do this. She has like big puffy pants, so let's put those in so I can kind of have a better idea of what I'm doing. Her legs are actually much longer than they appear once I put the puffy pants. And yes, I know what this looks like. Give me a sec. I'll fix it. Just give me a sec. Do that. I think. Let's make this smaller. Do that. Okay, knee goes over there, foot goes over there. Come on. Bend this knee, put this foot there. Now, if we do that, it makes her look a little bit too confident. So let's bring this foot here. And I might twist her just to see if my posing is correct, if I flip her. And then bring this down more here. There we go. And then when we add her hat, we can bring that part here. See, when you do this, like, you can kind of really see like the Nights into Dreams look. I don't know whether Nights was a inspiration for her design at all. It might have been, but not like in a when you say you can see the influence of something in another character's design, it often makes it seem like you're saying the person is unoriginal because it looks like X and Y. But that's not what I mean when I say that, because everything is influenced by everything else, right? So I feel that Nights might have been an inspiration to a certain point without them trying to do that character design, if that makes sense. Okay, now, what I was thinking, to not cover up her costume, if we bring her shoulders up here, we can do it like this and kind of have her hands down here. Now, that makes her look angry. Oops, didn't mean to move the... I've been drawing on the wrong layer. Oh, well. We'll just deal with that. It's fine. Have I ever met Snapcube? I've not met Snapcube at all. I do follow her and I do watch her content. I don't watch her as much as I do other content creators or video creators. I don't think we should really... There's a post going around saying don't describe your work as content. Describe it as what it is, which is art. So I don't watch Snapcube as much as I do other video creators. But I do really enjoy her work. But I don't know her or anything like that. I'm an extremely small YouTuber, so I don't really know anyone per se. I haven't really networked with anyone because I don't think that my channel is big enough for anything like that. But she is somebody I really enjoy her content. I think she's a very good creator. I really enjoy her work. I love her like fan dubs, but even just her let's plays are very funny. Try bending them a little bit more. Do you mean the legs or the arms? Because what I'm thinking of for her expression, we can tilt her head like this. Then we can do this. And we can make... She's got really big eyes. Then we can do this. And have her like look here. So I was thinking she's like... Her shoulders are up here like this. Yeah, that kind of works. Just make this big. And she's got really big hands as well, so just do this. Although now I'm twinning the pose. How can I do this? I should have had a reference for her actually. Let's see what I'm just going on to YouTube quick to not YouTube, to Google, to see what other people have done regarding her posing. See what they've come up with. Yeah, see, it's a lot of the hands being in front of her chest. That's like not default, but that's a very easy way to communicate the concept of your character is scared. Is to have her like very closed off and have her hands and arms blocking her torso, because that's what you do when you're scared, correct? Yeah, I'm just going to do something similar, even though if it has her posed a little twin, that's okay. We're just gonna have to deal with it. Do like that. Here we go. Oh, hey, Lord King. Thanks for the super chat. Sure, I can't talk today. Make that smaller. There we go. Now we can get going. Can you send a message? It depends what you mean. Contact Mauler and get on EFAB. He accepts all creators of all sizes. I'm a little afraid to be on EFAB. Let me read Lord King Kang's super chat first before I do anything else. Hey, can you read my previous comment, please? Okay, let me just scroll up. Where are you? Let's see. Here we go, Lord King. I'm in a bit of a bind. I think I'm gay. I met a guy at my boxing class and I think he's really nice and cute. I never had these feelings for another guy before. I'm really scared. Advice. That's a little difficult to talk about like in public on a live stream. Especially for somebody like me, not on a live stream per se, but you must understand that I'm very, very ace. I am extremely ace. So I don't know how to really give advice about feelings like that because I don't have feelings like that, if that makes any sense to you. So I absolutely sympathize with what you're going through, but I don't think I would really be able to give advice other than that would be like empty platitudes. And I don't think that's a very responsible thing to do, to just tell somebody, you know, oh, just be yourself and things like that. I don't think that's a responsible way to offer somebody advice when they're really asking for advice. But at the same time, I'm speaking from a place of that not being something that I myself experienced, so I'm not entirely sure how I would give advice regarding that situation. I'm very sorry. I don't have feelings. No, but I think you guys know what I mean. What you mean. I'm stumbling on my words there. I think you guys know what I mean. Because I've never really had that where I look at somebody and I get a crush on them or anything like that. That's just not something I've ever really experienced. What is ace? It's asexual. You're not interested in pursuing romantic relationships in any form? Yeah, kind of. It's not really something I want to discuss too openly on a live stream, just because I think that kind of thing is kind of personal. And although I don't mind discussing it, I do think discussing it in front of a larger audience might be tricky, especially when my attention is divided, just because I might say something horrendously stupid regarding the topic, you know what I mean? Start hanging out with Lord King Kang. Yes, I wanted to take it out of context. Okay, I see. I seen the way you look at Garrus. Don't lie to me. Look, the reason why I like Garrus as a romantic option in a video game is because he is an alien. So the question of physical attraction is completely taken out of the equation, right? Because it's not a thing. It's just not a thing. And so the romance in Mass Effect is entirely based on personality and character writing. And that's why I like that character so much, especially as a romance option in the game, is because the writers have absolutely no choice but to rely on character writing to make him attractive. They can't rely on physical attraction whatsoever. And it ends up in a really well-written character as a result. And we were talking about EFAB earlier. Oh, I wanted to say I'm terrified of EFAB. I would really like to be on EFAB, but I don't know if I am equipped enough to really handle the back and forth that a podcast situation like that would give me, especially with EFAP, where they don't mince words, and they've been doing podcasting for such a long time. They're very good at on the spot communication and on the spot back and forth dialogue with their guest and each other and stuff. Whereas me, even just talking to you guys, I'm stumbling over my words now and then. I get a little bit mixed up and all of that. And I think that's something I'll get better with time. But I think that if I were to try and apply to go onto EFAP, I think they would steamroll me just because I'm not communicating myself well in a very clear and concise manner. Maybe with time, I'll get better at it. But for right now, I don't think it's the best idea. I did notice on Pomni, she has like, I hate using this word, but she kind of has the bean mouth expression a lot, which I kind of like in 3D. I was looking at that and I was like, I wonder how they actually got this to work as well as it does in 3D, because it would be very difficult to get like the polygons to make like this triangle shape. So I was quite impressed with that when I was watching this short, that they somehow figured out how to do it. She doesn't have a nose, no? She doesn't know. And I saw something I really like. She has eyelashes that go up on this side, and then she has eyelashes that go down on the other side. And I thought that was a really interesting character design choice. I really like that. I was like, oh, that's interesting and like really cool for the style they're going for, which is kind of like that mid 2000s deviant art OC look. And I think that's like purposefully what they're going for. That's not me like insulting them. I genuinely think that's kind of the aim with the character designs in this show. Okay, so she doesn't have like the potato sack body. She's got more like a straight bean shape, where it's not heavier at the bottom than it is at the top. Thanks, I'm just scared that he'll think I'm weird. The thing is, you can't really suppress who you are as a person just because you think it might make the other person like you. There are things you can do to mitigate coming across as rather awkward or coming across too strong too quickly, but I think you can't suppress your personality traits for fear of, oh, this probably makes me weird, because then you're kind of just hiding an essential part of who you are as a person that you're either going to have to then hide it forever, or it's going to come out eventually and then it's weird for it to come out later. And then it's like, why are you doing this when I've never seen you do that before? And then you have to be like, oh, I was always like that. I've just been hiding it all this time. So it's much better to just present those parts of yourself straightforward, even if you have to like downplay them, but just so that you're not making the person think you're a different person than who you actually are. Because then it kind of just becomes even weirder later on when it comes out and things like that. Where's this character from? This is from a YouTube pilot short that came out a week ago called The Amazing Digital Circus. And it's been doing insanely well on YouTube. It got, I think somebody said they're at 17 million views within the first week, which is ridiculous. And it's a very well animated CG short. I did feel the voice direction was a little lacking. I don't think they had a voice director when they made it, and it kind of shows. However, because it's a pilot, that's not the end of the world. It just means that I kind of notice in how the short as a whole is directed, there's a lot of awkward pauses between dialogue, when one character says something and then another character says something else. There's some pauses which is weird, and there's parts where the dialogue doesn't flow very naturally, and I would think the reason why is because either there wasn't a audio director or dialogue director that said to the voice actors how to respond to certain characters, or it was the director on the short as a whole just not being super experienced in pacing, which is like the hardest thing to get right in filmmaking anyway, so it's not the end of the world. But apart from that, like, the animation is stellar. It's really well animated. And I really enjoyed that they mixed 2D and 3D animation. Like, a lot of the characters are all CG, but some of them have 2D animation for their faces, and I thought that was really cool. I like seeing that. I think the last time I saw that being done really well is in the Lego movie, or like one of the Lego movies at least. I don't know which one came out most recently. You have mentioned being an ADHD sufferer. I don't know if sufferer is the right word, but okay. Before, do you take any medication, or do you just manage it normally? I have just started taking medication, and I feel a bit more productive than before. I'm not on meds for it, but I'm quite high functioning, so it's not really that big a deal. I have friends in the US who take meds for it, and they said it's completely changed their lives. They feel like a brand new person, but for me, I'm a bit all over the place, but I tend to manage it okay. It's not really the end of the world for me. So I just kind of have to know, okay, I do this in certain ways and I do that in certain ways, and then I kind of just have to understand how I work and mitigate what is troublesome, like time management I have a big problem with, and then just work out what isn't actually that big a deal and isn't the end of the world if it doesn't work exactly the way it's quote-unquote supposed to. And I have a lot of that, where this isn't really how a regular person would handle X, Y, and Z, but it's also not a bad way of handling X, Y, and Z, so it's not actually a big deal not to do it exactly the way you are quote-unquote expected to or anything. Okay, that's not too bad. I quite like that pose, actually. I struggled with it at first, but it's coming along quite nicely. Oh wait, before I say that though, let me flip it and see how it looks. Okay, she is a bit off balance. Let me bring this leg forward. I am going to use perspective to move this rather than just rotating it. There we go. Yeah, that's better. There we go. Hey Cpuff, out of curiosity, have you watched the Spider-Verse films yet? I have not, simply because I'm immensely slow at getting to things. The fact that I watched the Amazing Digital Circus a week after it came out was a miracle, because usually it takes me like months or years to get to things for no reason whatsoever. Again, maybe that's like a time management thing, I'm not sure. Let's see. I'm not sure I feel like watching a stream today. Have fun though. Oh, well, thanks for hanging out when you have. But I'm sorry you're not feeling great. I hope you feel better later. But I know how that is. Sometimes you're just not in the mood. Sometimes you're like, I really enjoy streams, but for some reason I just can't today. Something is not something. So it's fine. I know how it is. Remember to save. Oh yes, thank you. I'm just gonna call this Pomni. Where is this? Oh, it's in the wrong folder. Let me just put it in the right folder. My art save. There we go. Okay. I hope you get time to watch the Spider-Verse films, since they both are exceptional. Yeah, I think the first one's on Netflix at least, and I have had it on my list for forever. And I kind of think I do want to watch it pretty soon, because I think that the Spider-Verse films are, from what I have heard, very well done in terms of animation. And I've seen clips and things to know that to be a fact. And I believe they're done very well in the writing department as well. Unfortunately, a lot, and I do mean a lot, of animated films and TV shows have looked to Spider-Verse as inspiration, specifically the fact that Spider-Verse made a lot of money and was a big success, and they looked at it and went, people like multiverses, and now they're just putting like the multiverse into everything, and I am already so tired of it. I am so tired of the multiverse. My Adventures with Superman it's only got one season so far, and it's only 10 episodes, and they decided in episode 6 or something, it might have been 5, might have been 6, they decided in the 6th or 5th episode of the entire show to introduce the multiverse. And I'm like, why? Please, why? I know why. It's because Spider-Verse made so much money, but can we please please drop the multiverse, at least until like season 3. Why do we always have to go multiverse? And when I was doing the research for Velma, even Mindy was talking about how Spider-Verse was a big inspiration for Velma and trying to figure out that one. I still don't 100% understand what she means when she said that. I think some people, they haven't really thought about the concept of alternate realities in terms of media very much, because they've never been part of the Undertale fandom. So they just think that alternative universes is something that Spider-Verse came up with. But it's become like a shorthand to make your show or movie successful. It's just to have a multiverse. And it's especially DC. DC loves the multiverse. And I'm so tired of it. I'm already bored. I'm like, can we please not do this? The art style of Spider-Verse is showing its influence too. That I don't mind so much. Art style, I have zero problem with it having an influence. It's mainly the multiverse stuff that I'm exceptionally bored with. Mostly because it's being used as a crutch. Rather than actually having interesting storytelling, they're just doing multiverse stuff and thinking that because it's an interesting concept on its own, that that's enough for it to be an interesting and well-written show, and that's not how it works. Like the new TMNT movie, the thing is, TMNT has had this is going to sound like such a stupid word, TMNT has had the Turtleverse way longer than Spider-Verse has even existed. If you've seen the movie Turtles Forever, which I think came out in like 2009 or maybe 2010, that directly addresses the Turtleverse. And that's been a thing in the comics and stuff for years, if not decades. Because the concept is every single time they reboot the Ninja Turtles, whether it's in comic form or cartoon form or movie form, they have to do it all over again, and they like changing characters and changing how things work. So the concept of the Turtleverse was basically to explain why that keeps happening. And the idea was that literally all versions of Ninja Turtles is canon. Like, that's why the Turtleverse exists. It's literally just to excuse why they keep rebooting it in ways where all the characters are completely different. And it's to basically mitigate any confusion as to, okay, well, which ones are canon? And by creating the Turtleverse, they're like, oh, all of them are. Don't worry about it. And then she's got like papyrus things around her arm puffs or whatever these are. Any plans for my favorite animated series and movies that on Anime's video when you hit a new subscriber milestone? I think so. Maybe I'll do that next. Although the next milestone, I'm not sure what to make the next milestone. Because I feel like 20... because I don't want to be presumptuous in the thought that, oh, I'll definitely hit this many subscribers. Because YouTube is very unpredictable. And I don't want to put my hopes up too high. Because I feel like that's an easy way to make me feel like I have failed in doing something if I don't hit that number, because I'm expected of myself to be able to hit that number. So I'm a little unsure what milestone to make the next milestone. But I do think having at least one milestone video saying, oh, this is my favorite non-anime animated things would definitely be interesting. And I think that's something some people would be very interested in. Because I was thinking of talking about manga, but I think maybe non-anime animated films and TV shows might be more in line with my channel's content. I think I must make her feet a bit bigger. I think they're a bit small. Decided to draw Pomni too. Having fun experimenting with the proportions. Oh yeah, heck yeah, go for it. Like I said, I'm busy talking and drawing at the same time, which means I'm only operating on half capacity for both. Which is why I'm talking all over myself today. Also, I think the scenes I'm working on are frying my brain slowly but surely. The worst thing about NDAs is that I can be working on an awesome project and I'm not allowed to show anyone anything of it. Like, that kills me, because sometimes I work on something so cool and I really want to show people how awesome it is, but I literally can't because I'm under NDA. That sucks. Like, that's the hardest part of everything. Move this over a little bit. There we go, that's better. Okay. Go back to this color. Did her hair, does she have little, no, she doesn't have little gaps in her hair over there. I'm gonna go for a new layer just so I don't draw over the top of what I already have, just to do the pom-poms and the collar that she has. The Snow Queen Soviet cartoon is pretty good. Still need to watch that. I've heard it's very good. And I've seen clips and it just looks, it's very like visually appealing. So I need to get to that as well. I've actually got a copy of the very hard to find for some reason documentary on Russian animation called Magika Rusika. And I need to watch that still. Because that is a subject I am very not knowledgeable on, is the Soviet animation scene. Hey Brian! Pokemon Adventures Ruby and Sapphire arc gets so absurdly dark. Are you guys talking about Pokemon? I'm a little out of the loop with Pokemon, but I will say I've been playing Pokemon Infinite Fusion, and it is, no joke, the best Pokemon game I've ever played. And it's not even an official game, it's like something you can just download. What do you think about the term CalArt style? I think it's a little reductive. However, I don't take issue with it as some other people do, because I think it's a good shorthand way of addressing certain art tropes that people adopt simply because that's how they're expected to draw, or that's how their favorite cartoon looks, without them really exploring how they would naturally draw something. They kind of just fall into that art style because it's almost forced upon them, or they feel they have to. And I also think some part of me is a little bit not happy, but some part of me feels that critiquing California arts on pushing a very rigid, conformed art style on its students, which they've done for decades, if not like the entirety of when they've been an active school, they do push a certain art style and way of thinking onto their students. And I think something like criticizing something for being CalArt style does kind of criticize CalArts for not harboring more diverse art styles. So I do kind of approve of that, and I do hope it gets back to the art school that maybe we shouldn't push this one singular art style on all our students. When art style gets too generic, it gets annoying. Just look at anime. I do agree, and I do agree with you on the anime thing as well. Although it's difficult because if a art style I just tend to like, regardless of whether it's generic or not, if it becomes more standard practice in something, then I don't really criticize it as much. So one does have the danger of being hypocritical, where I don't like it when X happens, but when it happens to something I like, then it's not a problem. And I think I'm that way with like 80s anime art styles. A lot of the art styles from the 80s and 90s I'm a big fan of. So if they were more generic, I guess, or more commonly used, I would probably not complain as hard as I do about the way certain anime tend to look nowadays, which is very generic. I think this stripe should be a little bit thicker, honestly. See, her character design is so smooth and well designed. Like, look how quickly I knocked that out in half an hour. It's such a good design for animation. You can put it down so quickly. Although I do think her legs are a little bit long, but I don't think they're a little long, but not by much. Can probably bring them down a little bit. But yeah, absolutely amazing character design for animation, just because you can like knock it out of the park so quickly. So if you're animating her, if you were to animate her traditionally in 2D, it's very easy to get a character pose down quickly and then just move on to the next frame. Very well done character design, like genuinely, just from a functional standpoint. That's an interesting question. Is it the art style or is it use? It depends, because some art styles are just bad regardless of if they're overused or not. I was watching the Mass Effect anime, Paragon Lost, and that is such an ugly movie. I have so many problems with that movie. It's not good. Don't watch it. It's not worth it. But the art style, it somehow has generic 2010 art style and ugly art style all at the same time, without me saying that anime from 2010 was automatically ugly, because that's not the case. It looks like really low budget Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. That's what the art style reminds me of, but like not good. And then all the backgrounds are also CG, and it looks terrible because it's like super cheap CG. They could have just used CG backgrounds from the games and it would have looked better. Please read the Pokemon Adventure manga when you're able to. It's phenomenal. I think I've heard that. Like, specifically heard that it's very good. I just haven't gotten to it. The last manga I've been reading is Seven Seeds. I need to get back to that because I was really enjoying what I've read of it so far. What makes an art style bad in your opinion? It depends. I would say an art style is bad when it fails at the function it's trying to accomplish. And I know that's a very weird way of saying it, but say you are making... Oh, here's a way I can say it. Say you're making a horror anime, right? And you want the anime to be scary. And you're not going for something like Elfen Lied, where part of the horror of Elfen Lied is the fact that these very big-eyed shoujo characters are getting massacred in horrible ways. That's not what you're going for. You want to do like a Junji Ito creepy anime, but then your art style looks like something that KyoAni would do. You know, it looks like The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. It looks like Lucky Star, like unironically. That is a bad art style because it is clashing with what the show itself is trying to accomplish. That would be something that I would call a bad art style. Another thing I would call a bad art style is a art style which is not economic for the medium that it's trying to work within. And that's something like if you're doing cutout animation and you have an exceptionally... not busy, because I guess you can do that in cutout. But let's say you have a character and they do a lot of rubber hose animation and they're specifically designed to be very formless and not have rigid joints. Like Ren and Stimpy, I suppose. And then you do that in cutout animation. You're making your own life harder. And then that would also be a bad art style in my opinion. Because it's not functioning within the foundation of what you're trying to do, right? Like it's in contrast to your tools, and you have made the choice to have the art style look a certain way and then made the choice to use tools which cannot properly function with that art style. So then it's a bad art style. Style is sorry, the heart's in the way. Style is a tool shed you use to accomplish your intended goals. There we go. That's a very good way of putting it. Style is a tool shed that you use to accomplish your goals. Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think that's a good way to put it, because there are certain things where even if the art style is terrible, it functions in the way it's supposed to for the show or movie or short or whatever it is. Oh yeah, Berserk 2016 art style. Okay, that is one thing I will say. I don't care what their goal is. That is just an ugly art style. It's an ugly art style. Unless they were trying to make the most unexpressive anime of all time as some kind of like anti-art. Like they were trying to do like a, what was that show called? Renegade Angel. I forget the name. Xavier? Is it Xavier or is it Xavier? Like, unless they were trying to do like a Xavier Renegade Angel like anti-show, that's just a bad art style. And even then, I think Xavier Renegade Angel looks better than Berserk 2016, quite frankly. The problem I have with the term Cal art style is that a lot of the creators of shows that are considered examples of the style, like Steven Universe, Amazing World of Gumball, have never been to Cal Arts. Yeah, I suppose that's a true observation, but at the same time, that art style is in Luca, which is a Pixar film, and it's also in what was the Pixar movie? Being Red, The Amazing Red, the Red Panda Pixar movie that takes place in Toronto, I think it is. Like that, those two movies, despite being CG films, they have the Cal art style like down pat. Turning Red, thank you. Now there is a Guts lookalike in ongoing Goblin Slayer 2 season anime. Really? I heard Goblin Slayer isn't great though. Like, even season 1 wasn't a great show. I'm trying to think, what was the last anime I watched that was like new? Because the last anime I watched recently was literally a Lupin the Third movie. And it wasn't great. Mostly because it didn't give me what it advertised. Like, what they advertised the movie being about wasn't what the movie ended up being about. What they advertised the movie being about was literally 5 minutes of it, and then they moved on to something else entirely. So that's the last anime thing I've watched, but I can't think of what the last anime thing I watched, which isn't just Mass Effect or Lupin the Third. The humor in Xavier, Renegade Angel, reminds me so much of Team Fortress 2 Gmod animations. You know what? That's a great way of putting it. That is exactly it. Hey Gunter, thank you so much for the super chat. Got a skedaddle. Please accept my humble donation. Keep up the good work, Senpai. Thank you, and thanks for hanging out. Chainsaw Man was good. I still need to watch that. I heard that's excellent. I do know that Super Eye Patch Wolf did a video singing its praises, and I still need to watch that. The last thing I watched from Super Eye Patch Wolf, just for my own frame of reference, was his video on scammy YouTube like course creators, where they're like, buy my course and I can tell you how to be successful on YouTube. And Super Eye Patch Wolf did like an entire 2-hour video breaking down about how every single one of those courses is bullshit and none of them make sense. Well, how can I say bullshit? Am I far enough into the live where I won't get demonetized for using that word? Oh well. Oh, you were talking to Brian's eye. Sorry. My least favorite art style is that grotesque style used for shitty Adult Swim cartoons like Mr. Pickles or Super Gel. Mr. Pickles, I don't like that art style. However, I have a friend who very often has zines in the convention in Los Angeles called APE, which is the Alternative Press Expo. And a lot of his art and other artists at APE have a very similar art style. And it's more rooted in the black metal scene, like that entire side of art. So I don't like the art of Mr. Pickles, but I do actually fully understand why it looks the way it does. Like, it is exactly imitating that kind of art style. So even though I don't like it, I don't think it's a bad art style, because I think it is functioning within what it's trying to do, and it's made for a certain audience where that kind of art style is exactly the kind of thing they would enjoy. So again, it's not something that I would like, but it's something where I get why it looks like that. So I still wouldn't say it's a bad art style. I'll only say that I dislike it. Black metal animation. No. I mean like people who are into black metal, the music. It's a cartoon made for people who enjoy black metal. And so the art that you often had with like black metal artists, whether it's their logo or it's their merch, they tend to kind of lean into that look. Circle, can I do it? It's not bad. But I'm gonna redo it anyway. There we go. What music do you enjoy, CPuff? I enjoy a vast variety of things. I really enjoy metal, but specifically I enjoy power metal. I'm a big fan of. And I want to say speed metal, but is that how long it took for the super chat noise to play? Good lord. The kind of metal I enjoy is power metal, and I want to say I enjoy speed metal, but I kind of only enjoy Dragon Force. When I say that, I like Dragon Force, so that's one thing. Most of the music I use in my videos is all a style of music I myself enjoy. I don't really use music that I dislike in my videos. So I like synthwave. I'm a big fan of synthwave. I like Sigur Rós a lot, which is kind of its own thing. I don't know how you classify what genre Sigur Rós is. And I enjoy what else? I like musicals, like classic Broadway musicals, but it depends because I really like Wicked. I love the music in Wicked. I despise West Side Story. I cannot stand the music in West Side Story. It's so bad. I'm sorry. It's so awful. So it depends like what musical. But I like the music in Wicked a lot, and I like the music in Les Mis a lot, so I'm a big fan of those. I'm a big fan of the band Block Party, BLOC, Block Party. Really like their music. I think they used to be like a drum and bass band, but they've kind of leaned more into like indie pop, I guess is the best way to describe them. So I really like that. I like specifically the album, The Private Press by DJ Shadow, and I don't know how to classify what genre of music that is because it's kind of its own thing, but I'm a big fan of that album. So anything on DJ Shadow's The Private Press, like, absolutely phenomenal album. So like I said, I'm not really sure how to be like, oh, this is the kind of music I like, because it's literally all over the place. Do I like prog rock metal like Haken? I don't know Haken, but I do like prog rock. I don't know if it counts as prog rock, but Blind Guardian, which is my favorite band, they have a 14-minute song that's about the Iliad, as in like the actual Iliad written 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. They've got a 14-minute song which is just about the Trojan War and like how it happened and the visions of Cassandra the prophet. And that song, again, if it's 14 minutes long, it's already a prog rock album, but that is a phenomenal piece of music. It kills me I can't play any Blind Guardian when I stream just because it's all copyrighted, because absolutely insane band. It's so good. Their recent album, which came out last year, I think it was last year or earlier this year, they have a song that's based on Neil Gaiman's novel The American Gods, and that song is insane. The song itself is called Secret of the American Gods. It's so good. And the fact that they did a song about a Neil Gaiman book is awesome, because they've done like they've done Wheel of Time, they've done a lot of Tolkien, specifically the Silmarillion. I think the band, specifically Huntsy, I think he's a bigger fan of the Silmarillion than he is of Lord of the Rings, because they have like an entire album about the Silmarillion. I don't know if they have any songs about Lord of the Rings specifically. And they have, their new album has a lot of songs from The Witcher, but specifically the books, not the TV show or the games. So yeah, I forget what my point was. Point is, I'm very sad I can't play Blind Guardian on stream because it's a fantastic band. And then I also like Powerwolf, although their songs are very candy floss. It's very surface level. It's not really about anything. It's just kind of like, werewolves are awesome. Here's a cool song about how cool werewolves are, and that's about it. Who made it, you said? Blind Guardian. But I played Imaginations from the Other Side endlessly in high school. Oh yeah, fantastic song as well. I prefer the live version of that song to the studio version, just because of how insane Huntsy is on the mic. You can tell he's like running up and down on stage. It's so good. How about Camelot? I need to listen to Camelot. I have had that recommended to me a lot of times, and I still need to get to it. At Varken this year, I was watching the Varken stream. They had Two Steps from Hell, and I put it on Tumblr because I couldn't find it anywhere else online. Their specific performance of the song Away With Your Fairies, as performed at Varken 2023, is like one of the most insane things I've ever seen in my life, because they're like playing with the orchestra. It's like 1 a.m. You have, I think her name is Mia on the electric violin, and she's like jumping up and down while she's playing, and she's wearing like her studded boots and whatever, and it's raining, and you've got like the rain going down as they're performing the song. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I should link it in chat after I'm done here, because again, I would love to play it, but then the stream would get yeeted into oblivion for playing copyrighted content. I need to drink sip of water. Hold on. Which one's the water? This one's the water. Opinions on post-hardcore like Fugazi. I am not familiar with them. Oh, you know who was at Wacken this year? Which I was so hype that they were there, even though they weren't a headliner. They were just kind of playing in the middle of the afternoon on Saturday. But Uriah Heep was at Wacken this year, and I was losing my mind. I was so happy. I think I might have said this on stream before, but I was so happy to see Uriah Heep there. And they sounded so good, and they were like so theatrical on stage. And even though they only played one song that's like a favorite of mine, which was Lady in Black, it was just so nice seeing them perform. I was more excited about that than Iron Maiden performing this year. Okay, must actually study for midterms before the course. Unknown Origins album is great. Oh, sorry, did I just read 2 chats at once? Sorry, I did because the chat jumped. Okay, must actually study for midterms before the course coordinator throat slams me. Okay, good luck, Shire. Did you mention being a fan of Sigur Rós? What tracks? I really like Hoppy Popla. Really love that song. Think it's amazing. The music video is also really good. And I struggle with the names of the songs. There's another one I really like, but I can't remember what it's called. It's because their song titles, they're either in Icelandic or they're in a made-up language that Sigur Rós came up with themselves. Is the Amazing Digital Circus good? I haven't seen it yet. It's very good for being a YouTube pilot. It has some issues that I see as somebody who works in the animation field in terms of how it's directed and certain decisions that were made, but those things can be boiled down to lack of experience. So just in terms of animation and concept, I think it's great. And I think if it manages to get a full show going, it will iron out the things that were a little bit awkward in the pilot, and then it's going to be a phenomenal show. How do I say this? Svenfgu Ingar is a good one if you haven't heard it. I'm not sure. Again, I'm terrible with names to begin with, and now I have to try and remember Icelandic words for music tracks. Oh, and I wanted to say, just because I thought about talking about this earlier, I said it in the communities tab, but I actually did end up getting the Garrus body pillow. Hooray! And I wanted to talk about what an absolute nightmare that was. So what happened was, if you went here for previous streams, I really wanted the Garrus body pillow because I think it's a hilarious piece of merchandise. I think the fact that that BioWare itself, on the official BioWare website, have a Garrus Vicarian Dakimakura, that is hilarious to me. Because that's the kind of thing you expect to see that on Etsy. You expect that to be a thing that fans make, and it's like, whatever, that's just kind of what fans do. But the fact that it's the official BioWare company making it, that is so funny to me. That is hilarious. So, of course, I need to have it because I have a terrible sense of humor. But the pillowcase, because it's just the case, it doesn't have a stuffing. The pillowcase is $30, and because I live in South Africa, they wanted to charge me $80 for shipping. Now, I'm not paying $80 for a pillowcase just because I think it's funny, right? I'm not doing that. So what I did was I found one of those online services where you have an American postal address, and the store ships it to the American postal address, And then the American postal address ships it to you using certain import-export laws so that it costs you a fraction of the shipping cost. So it knocked down the shipping price from $80 to $37, which is still not great, but it means I could add like a t-shirt and a pin. So I got the N7 t-shirts with like the nice fabric stripe on the one side, and obviously the Garrus body pillow. And the shipping was $37, which was a massive cut in price, and they shipped it to me within a week. So I get a phone call from FedEx in the country, and they say, hey, we need your ID number and we need your email so that we can verify this through customs. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. It's a little weird. I hope I'm not getting scammed, but you can't really do much with that information, so here's my info. Then FedEx emails me and they go, hey, to release this package from South African customs, you owe us $92 to clear customs, or we're sending your package back. So I'm like, the package is already in the country. It's already here. It just has to be released from customs. But for some reason, they're charging me $92 just to do that. So I'm like, well, what can I do? The package is here already. So I paid it and it got to me a day later. So it got to me within a week, but I ended up paying $120 for shipping instead of $80 for shipping. So I have the body pillow. It is the most painful purchase I've ever made in my life. And I'm like, was the joke worth it? Was committing to the bit worth it? And I'm not sure, because on the one hand I have the pillowcase here and it's lying deflated on my bed because it still doesn't have an insert. It looks like that Garfield meme where John is shaking like a deflated Garfield, like, Garfield, speak to me. It looks like that. So on the one hand, I'm kind of really happy with it. I'm very happy that I own this ridiculous product and it's very high quality. It's really nice material. And I really like the t-shirt I got. It looks really good. So I'm happy that I have the items. But wow, did that knock me in the wallet. Just because I thought it would be very funny to have this item. So that's the story of the friggin' Garrus body pillow. I think I'm going to make these fluffy, actually. I know they're not fluffy in the 3D character design, but I think they should be. Just because it would make me happy. I think 2 has a better story by far. I like 3. 3 is my favorite of the games. But I'm busy playing them on stream, so I don't want to reveal too many spoilers, because I do want people who've never played them to experience them, hopefully through my streams, because they're so phenomenal, and I want as many people to be as obsessed with them as I am, so that they too can buy Garrus body pillows for $120 shipping, not factoring in the cost of the item itself. So I don't want to spoil things for people. Do you like the most popular girls in school? I'm thinking of rewatching the show. I am sad though that it never really got a chance to end. I do like the most popular girls in school. It's very good. I haven't finished it yet, but really enjoy it. I think I binge watched like 3 seasons in like 2 days. I do believe that they went on hiatus though, because a member of the cast, I think she was diagnosed with cancer, if I remember correctly, and that's why it went into hiatus. I think she's doing better, if I remember correctly, but it's a lot of strain to put on somebody when they're dealing with an illness like that. So I believe that's the reason it went into hiatus, which is a shame, but I mean, like, what can you do, right? CPUF should play Silent Hill 3 on stream for Halloween. No, because I love Silent Hill to death, but even though I own it, I've got the special edition on PS2, I've never actually played it myself, because I am too much of a wuss to play that game. I love horror. Horror is one of my favorite things, but I don't know if I want to play Silent Hill 2 or any of the Silent Hills myself. I'd rather just watch Vinny play them. And I'm laughing so much that my lines are going skew here. Give me a sec. Because I don't feel like redrawing this whole curve. There we go. Oh, Sorry, it's my phone buzzing. I once bought a To The Moon music box from China, $80 taxes, and a 160-kilometer drive to the customs house. Oof! Okay, so I'm glad to hear it's not just me who's done ridiculous things for merchandise. At least my solace is that the exorbitant shipping price was not something I did consciously. I very purposefully tried to be frugal. I tried to manage my money the best that I could. So I didn't make the decision to spend that much on shipping just because I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. I'll just spend that cash. It was an unfortunate circumstance, not my own idiocy. So that's at least something. I hope Silent Hill makes a comeback. If it was so huge for me, in my late teens to 20s. It kind of remains rather evergreen, although I will say I am terrified of what are they called? Bloomer? Whatever that game company is. I'm terrified of them having the license to do Silent Hill 2 because they made Layers of Fear, and even worse, they made the recent Blair Witch game. And I don't want to know what they are going to do with the concept of dealing with terminal illness. I don't want to know what they're going to do with the themes of Silent Hill 2, which is grief and guilt, specifically tied to having a family member who has a terminal illness and watching that person literally come apart and just fall to pieces in front of you. Even though you love them very much. I am terrified of what that game company is going to do with those themes because I have zero faith in them handling them. Not even correctly, just handling them in a way that's enjoyable, right? Because if you look at the way they handled PTSD in the Blair Witch game, first of all, why are we discussing PTSD when it comes to like the military in a game about the Blair Witch? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing it in this game? And just that game alone, even Layers of Fear, where the biggest problem with Layers of Fear is that it's not scary, which, whatever, that's also a problem, but it's a minor problem compared to the other problem of their just complete botching of handling these topics in an interesting and well done way. I don't have much faith in the Silent Hill 2 remake. I really don't, and I kind of hate that that's a thing that's going to happen. I don't mind remakes in video games because I do think that it's a way to keep a franchise alive. It's a way to keep it living in public consciousness. But at the same time, it does mean you run the risks of certain games getting remakes that are just like the worst things ever. Oops, I didn't mean to undo it. There we go. Oh, I did do the head, yes. Is that everything? Yes, it was. Okay, so we can switch to coloring. This character is, she's so easy to just get on paper. It's amazing. Let's make this line thicker for her eyelashes though, because her eyeshadow is actually black when she closes her eyes. Hey Blantosaurus, sorry I'm late. I didn't get a notification about the stream. What are we drawing? Oh, I'm hiccuping, sorry. We are drawing Pomni from the Amazing Digital Circus because I forgot it was Halloween this month. And I was considering drawing Elephant Peach, but we drew Peach last time. So I thought, hey, this is kind of a Halloween type thing. It's kind of a topical thing, so why not? Plus, her character design is just really fun. Here we go. I think she only has the 4 colors in her eyes. Let me check. No, she does not. She has 6. Okay. There we go. Like that. Okay, we can move on to colors. New layer, set to blue. I don't know if I want to eyedrop, because she's 3D, she has all kinds of shadows and things going on with her character design, so I think I just kind of want to figure out the colors on my own. rather than I drop tool them. Wait, let's do this thing that I always forget as an option, which is the lighthouse tool. Refer to other layers. There we go. I love remakes as long as they aren't full price or they do something to justify the full price. The Mass Effect Legendary Edition, even though it's not a remake, it's a remaster, I believe that was full price. Yes, it was full price. But that I didn't actually mind. And the reason being is because it was all 3 games plus all DLC sold as a single game. So in a way, it was kind of a lowered price because they were selling 3 games that were all $60 when they came out originally as one singular game. And then they were selling that game as like $70 or something, plus DLC and all the extras you would have had to buy separately. All of it is included in the game. So that's something I don't mind that game being full price, because it is actually a massive deal if you look at what you're getting. The only thing that it doesn't have is the Mass Effect multiplayer, which... the Mass Effect multiplayer was implemented in the 3rd game when it came out because EA was on this kick that all people want multiplayer games and that all games should have a multiplayer aspect to them regardless of what the game was or how the game played. They all had to have multiplayer in them. So the fact that the remaster Legendary Edition doesn't have multiplayer in it, it's not really something I'm concerned about. Like, it's fine. We don't need the multiplayer back. It was fun, but no, it's okay. It's not that big a loss. I don't really care about the Dead Space remake, though. I've heard mixed things about the Dead Space remake. I do know Vinny is playing it for Halloween. I want to watch his playthrough of it. I've just been watching while I'm working... on the scenes I've been given. I've been watching like disaster videos and stuff. I don't know why. That's just what my brain decided it wanted to focus on this week. But I should actually just switch and watch Vinny play Dead Space instead. It's probably better for my mental health. Back in the PS3 days, all games had online multiplayer. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, it was okay. Like, their justification for why it existed within the game's universe was fine. But at the same time, I'm not particularly broken up by it not being in the remaster. It was fun, but no. It's okay. It's fine. We have enough multiplayer shooters out there. Disaster videos? Yeah, like things like, bridges that collapsed because a ship sailed into them, or a mall that completely collapsed in on itself. And 90% of the time it's because the people who own the building like tried to save $1 by using cheap building materials and things like that. Like, it's almost every single instance of that happening. That's the reason why. It's because somebody tried to save money somewhere. But like I said, that's what I've been mainly watching while I do my scene cleanup this week. Oh, come on. Oh, there it is. You think the hair is more brown? Let me double check. Oh yeah, it is. It is. You're right. Let's grab this. Here we go. Yeah, it's more like that. So no fictional disasters? No, real ones. Again, I don't know why. I do enjoy documentaries though. And I do now and then, I do like, what would you even call it? Like things that Nexpo would make a video about. But Nexpo takes a very long time to get his content out because it's so intensive. So sometimes I just need something to watch while I'm working that can hold my attention while I'm doing cleanup. And for some reason that was the topic this week. Oops, that's going to, yep. How do you feel about disaster movies like Twister or Dante's Peak? It depends. Like really, all that I care about is if the movie is good or not. I did like Dante's Peak, but I watched Dante's Peak as a child a lot. That was a video we had on VHS, so I watched it a lot of times. So it's difficult for me to really judge if it's actually a good movie or not, just because I watched it a lot. And as a kid, you watch it and you enjoy it. That was one of the movies you had on video, so it's one of the movies you watched a lot. So I'm not sure if it's a good movie or not. I could probably try my very best and look at it from a critical point of view, but I still don't know, because the nostalgia is just too strong there to accurately gauge how good of a film it is. Here we go. How exactly did Life is Strange even get popular? I don't know. Somebody said because Tumblr, but I'm not sure. I think because it hit certain tropes tropes that were not really a thing in many other games. And that being, yes, lesbianism, but it had a lot of like the vibes of being like a counterculture older teen or early young adult in America. And then it had like the tragedy, and it had like the toxic Yuri thing going on. It just had a lot of things which other games did not provide. And because other games did not provide that sort of thing, people were just happy to have that kind of story in any form given to them. And I think that's why it's popular. It's because it literally had no competition. Is it really that dark? No, it's kind of dark, but it's not. Yeah, that's better. It's more like that. And then I think I want to move. I think it's this one. Yes, I'm gonna move this so I can see which lines are where. If you like building disasters, just watch videos from China. I don't know how I feel about that message. But I'm remembering Life is Strange from when it was new. I didn't follow it. I think I missed it. Oh, here we go. Living on the moment, observing the mundane, and that isn't a bad thing at all. I guess so. I think just the reason why it gained so much popularity had more to do with the shipping culture of it, right? Not just because it was a lesbian game, because there are games like Mass Effect has a lot of lesbianism in it, because Commander Shepard, if you play as female Shepard, she's bisexual from the first game onwards. But Life is Strange really captured a certain vibe for I don't want to say girls, but like a certain type of audience. It was almost tailor-made for a certain type of audience that a lot of games are not. And it had a gameplay style which didn't require you to have like really good, for lack of a better term, gamer skills. Because like Mass Effect, I love Mass Effect, but if you are somebody where you can't really play shooters for whatever reason, it's not a style of game that you can really get into, or you're not good at it, it's harder to tell people to play Mass Effect if they're terrible at shooters, or they really don't enjoy shooters. Whereas Life is Strange, being essentially a point-and-click adventure novel, a point-and-click adventure game. I wanted to say visual novel, an adventure game at the same time. It made it very accessible to a lot of people who might not be able to play a game that's a little bit more intensive in terms of reflex time or decision making. So it was a story that appealed to a certain demographic and then delivered it in a way which was very accessible by that demographic. I remember the lesbian elements of it, but I remember it being mindful in a way that wasn't therapeutic to an off-putting way, kind of. Life is Strange is not written well. It's really badly written in that it makes the same mistake that High Guardian Spice did, where it makes you try and sympathize with the character, specifically Chloe, who is like one of the worst people in the entire world. She's a terrible person. She's written as a terrible person, and then the game tries to make you feel bad for her and try and justify like all the terrible things she does, when really some of the things she does there's no justification for. And Even if you ignore a lot of the plot, which is very silly in places, just the characterization is not good and really not great. That's my biggest problem with Life is Strange. Oh, you can kind of see the stripe here. But, like I said, it delivered the kind of story to a lot of people in a gameplay style that was very accessible to them. So even though I find it's very badly written, I don't deny that it did provide a certain kind of theme and narrative for people, which nobody else was doing. I think I should put this stripe here as well, yeah. Clego's most clear-cut case of author doesn't realize what character they have written. Yeah. They wanted like a Laura Palmer. No, the Chloe wasn't the Laura Palmer character. I think it's Amber was her girlfriend. The other girl who went missing. She's like the Laura Palmer character. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe this is gonna sound terrible. I don't know if anybody is in the chat might know what I'm talking about. I don't know if it's because they're French. I don't know if that plays a part in why they didn't realize what kind of character they were writing. Specifically because French writing for animation specifically is very odd. It's French writing in general is just very strange. And I don't know if it didn't translate well from what they had in mind and what story they thought they were writing versus the story they were actually writing. Amber is even worse than the prequel. Yeah, she is. Amber is a terrible character as well. There's so many well-written point-and-click games, like The Longest Journey, which feels like the kind of touches on those themes do. Yeah, point-and-click has kind of gone on a bit of a upward tick. And I think games like Life is Strange actually contributed to that. Because Life is Strange was so successful, it kind of taught other studios that you can make a point-and-click adventure game and it can be financially successful. And there is an audience for it. So if nothing else, that is something that Life is Strange managed to do. But I do agree, there are a lot of point-and-click games which are written much better. Hell, even the Telltale Walking Dead game from 2012, like that's a phenomenal game in terms of writing. It's such a good game. And I'm not even a Walking Dead fan. It's not a franchise I'm into. And that game is genuinely well written. And that's like a really interesting game because the main character you play as is a likable character. Like you really feel sympathetic towards the main character. But the main character in the Walking Dead game is a murderer, and he murdered either his wife or his wife's boyfriend. I think it might have been his wife or both of them. I can't remember the details. But he caught his wife having an affair with another man, and he killed either her or him in a blind rage. He is a murderer who murdered somebody for terrible reasons. But because you never actually see that event in game, it's so easy to almost disregard that as being something this character has done simply because you as the player never saw it. It's a fascinating look at a character because it kind of asks uncomfortable questions to the game player of like, why does it only matter if you see it? That's a whole part of that character which people don't really talk about, and I think is very interesting because you are playing an objectively terrible person, but he never does anything too objectively terrible in the game itself. So you end up almost excusing this terrible thing he's done just because you never saw it. It's fascinating. It's really interesting. It was both. Okay, so he killed 2 people. I remember thinking he had to have been falsely accused. Yeah, no, he did. He straight up murdered his wife and her boyfriend. That is a thing he did. I'll never forgive Telltale for never following up on The Wolf Among Us. Yeah, that was another one. That was very good as well. In terms of like point-and-click adventure writing. And I know it had like a comic to base itself on, but from what I understand, the comic was quite different than the point-and-click adventure game. You're British, let's set... Oh, you and Jim Jim are fighting. That frame of writing kind of reminds me of the story of We Happy Few. I heard We Happy Few is a very good story marred by a not very good game. I know there's a video, I saw it on my dash, but I haven't watched it yet, that like fully talks about how good a concept that game is in terms of writing, and it's completely let down by its gameplay. Well, does a crime of passion make you a terrible person blanketly? It's a really intense crime, but that kind of rage and pain can make a person act completely outside their humanity for a moment. I disagree. I do not think so, because even though you might be furious in the moment, I don't think it should be excusable, even if it's out of rage, to decide somebody's life is less valuable than your wants and desires, regardless of what that is. That to me is a reprehensible way of thinking. To act as if another person's life can be in any way, shape, or form transactional towards your own feelings and needs and things like that. Who are you drawing? I'm drawing Pomni from the Amazing Digital Circus, which is a pilot short that came out on YouTube a week ago and is really fun. It's a little clumsy in parts, but it is absolutely phenomenal if you think of the fact that it is a animated pilot that's 22 minutes long. It's not even just 5 minutes, released on YouTube for free. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. And I believe the head creator of the Amazing Digital Circus, I think it's Gooseworks, where if you know Gooseworks on YouTube, it makes perfect sense. Like it's very in line with his way of making things, I think. The comic is super different and has a completely different theme than the game. The game is a crime thriller. The comics are more of a fantasy drama around all of these fairy tale figures. Yeah, that's kind of what I heard. Also, I saw somebody tag me earlier. Let me just see what it was. Last good point-and-click game I played was Batman Telltale series. I heard that one was really good as well. I actually should watch somebody play through that, especially because I really like Batman. But I'm going to talk more about that when I do the video on my adventures with Superman. Like, my relationship with the DC superhero characters, because it's kind of complicated. Long story short, I really like the DC superhero characters, and I really dislike how they're written in canon material 90% of the time, which makes it very frustrating for me, because you have these amazing characters, and then just the way some people decide to write them is just, it makes it not enjoyable for me. Hi Seepuff, I forgot this was happening, my bad. Hey Efkin, no worries. I started off, I think I was a little bit all over the place earlier in the stream, but I think I've recovered. Sometimes when I haven't streamed for a while, it's like, what are we doing? How are we doing this again? How does one YouTube? How does one do this? And then I flounder for a while until I'm like, oh right, this is how you do it. Okay, cool. And then I calm down. Oh, I'm gonna have to use the other. No. There we go. Did you like Hell of a Boss? Did also a free show. I still need to watch Hell of a Boss. I heard it's pretty good. I heard that it's better than Has Been Hotel. Or at least I've heard people say they enjoy it more than Has Been Hotel. And I saw Has Been Hotel was picked up by Prime to be like an actual TV show. So because I think it fits in well with my channel's content, there's a good chance that I might have to end up talking about that. Because I think there's a lot of interesting things to say. However, I do understand that if I make that decision, there's a very good chance that I'm going to have a lot of people very angry with me, regardless if I like the show or not. Because I always try and point out things that I think can be improved or that I think wasn't very executed as well as it could be. And from what I've seen from the Has Been Hotel fan base, they are the kind of people where you cannot put any criticism on the show whatsoever, because the second you do, they go very nasty. They do like call out posts and they try and dig up dirt on you and they dox you and all kinds of things like that. Apparently that's a big problem in the Has Been Hotel fan base as a whole. So this took me exactly an hour and a half to draw, which is way too short for a stream. So I'm actually going to do a little bit more shading than I usually do, just because I think I don't want to just stream for an hour and a half and be like, okay, bye. Hell of a Boss is mid. Some episodes are good, some are just slogs to get through, but don't let the fandom hear me say that. I get that, but at the same time, it depends, right? Because a lot of cartoons on, like old school cartoons on like Nickelodeon in the 90s and 2000s, a lot of them were like that as well. Like, not every episode is a banger. Hell, I put Lupin the Third on my top favorite anime video, and the 1970s show specifically. And even that show has some clunkers in terms of content. Like, some episodes are not good, like not at all. Some of them are like a 4 out of 10, but then you have other episodes which are like an 8 out of 10. So it just kind of depends. So, you know, I'm not going to complain if a show isn't perfect in every single episode. However, if a show has less episodes to work with, I might be more critical, because it's different. Like Sailor Moon, for instance. Sailor Moon's first season has over 40 episodes. So if Sailor Moon has a bad episode, it's really not a big deal because there are 40 episodes. You can just move on. However, like My Adventures with Superman, there's 1 or 2 episodes which are really, really not good whatsoever. And the problem is My Adventures with Superman is only 10 episodes. So if you have a bad episode in something like My Adventures with Superman, it's a big chunk of the show which is not good as a result. It's a much bigger problem. I agree, but it's an obvious issue of pacing and inexperience. It's just difficult to watch. Yeah, see, exactly. And as I said before, pacing is one of the hardest things to get right in animation, whether it's the actual technical animating skill, your timing as you're animating, or if it's in your writing, just how to do your pacing and writing. It's one of the hardest things to do, but it's also one of the most crucial parts to get correct. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the paintbrush. Yeah, just regular dense, it's fine. I don't need anything more severe than that. I feel like with a lot of comic book characters, I feel like the fact that a lot of different writers write the same character can make them very inconsistent in quality. I don't even mind that so much, because at least you should be able to get some good content. Even if you don't like every single story, that's fine. My problem is just so many comic book stories, specifically within DC, are written in a way that I just do not gel with. And like I said, I go into this in more detail when the video comes out, which will be a little bit of a wait, because again, if you weren't here earlier, my studio is giving us a lot of Sakuga scenes, which really eat up my time. So I have to work on My Adventure with I have to work on the script for My Adventures with Superman in my free time. And if I've been like cleaning up a scene for 8 hours in the day, it's difficult to then sit down and write an analytical breakdown of a cartoon when my brain is already fried for that day. But I go into more detail in the video itself on why I have difficulty with the canon DC material, even though I really like the characters themselves. And to put it as reductively as possible, a big problem for me is I don't like Frank Miller's writing style, and I don't like Frank Miller's characterization, which is fine. But the problem is a lot of guys that are now making canon content for Superman and Batman, they grew up loving Frank Miller's writing, so they try and emulate that style. So I am getting a bootleg version of a writing style that I don't like. And a lot of it also has to do with the fact that I think that Frank Miller's writing and characterization is antithetical to some of the characters. So it's a writing style I don't like, with an interpretation of characters where I hate that kind of interpretation. So it's difficult, because it's like, I love these characters, I just hate the way everybody writes them. But it's more complicated than that. But again, I go into it in more detail in the video itself, where I have everything written down and I have it like in front of me, and it's more structured than me trying to talk off the top of my head just to explain what I'm talking about. So I think I'll be able to communicate that a little bit clearer in the video. Could you ever see yourself managing your own show? No, because I prefer being the person who is given a task and said, this is what you need to do with the show, please do it. And then I go, okay. And then they say, please do it by this time. And then I go, all right, I've got you. And then I sit down and do my work and deliver it. And then the person in charge either tells me change X and Y and I change it, or they tell me good job and we move on to the next scene. That is what I prefer doing. I don't like being the person calling the shots. And also designing and character creation and things like that, that's not my strong point. I do much better in a position of, I'm going to say consultant. Is that the right word? I don't even know if that's really a position officially, but I do well when I have people who are like running a story or a show or characters coming to me and asking me my opinion or my input, and then I just say how it comes across. Like, I do much better in that capacity than I do as the person coming up with the ideas from scratch. It's just not my strong point. And it's not something I really enjoy doing. That's the other thing, right? It can be one thing if something isn't your strong point, but you love doing it, so you work at it and get better. But my thing is, I don't really enjoy that part of the production anyway. I prefer somebody directing me and pointing me in a direction of where I need to go. That's where I feel most comfortable. So I don't really think like I would ever really want to be in the position of show creator. And now I want another Ina episode. What is that? Digital Circus, I've not watched this pilot, but it makes me think of Ina. I'm not sure what Ina is, or what that's an abbreviation of. I need some shopping advice for AWA Puff. No Gareth's body pillows, sadly. But can you recommend some Utena merch I should keep an eye out for? Besides the Blu-ray. Utena doesn't actually have a lot of merch. Unfortunately, a lot of the Utena merch that's come out recently is like ball-jointed dolls. And they cost the price of a car almost. They are so expensive. And that's really the only Utena merch that's come out recently. They did have like a cafe in Tokyo come out not too long ago, where you could get certain small items like stationery and such, but Utena doesn't really get a lot of merch, so I can't really recommend anything just because there's so little out there. It's it's catching like the blank lines. Actually, let me see if I can get rid of those. Close that gap a little bit more. There we go. And then we create this inverse selection. We'll just make it white. No, we'll do black because the outlines are black, so that'll help. Oh, we can do it this way. I think it's this one. Yes. Oh, it didn't fill this, but it's fine. I'll do that part manually. Ina is a character created by Joel G. She has a series of videos on her channel. Oh, okay, I see. Joel G series is Ina. It's a very abstract animation series that explores personality, sexuality, and mental health. Oh, okay, I'll have to look into that. Especially because, like, I'm not super into overly artsy animation, but I do enjoy animation that kind of tries to be a bit out there. It depends. I think I like something that balances being artsy with at least some form of structure. I think Angel's Egg would be a good example, but I actually don't really like the narrative of Angel's Egg. I think it's a phenomenal movie. I don't like how cynical it is. It is extremely nihilistic and cynical. But I think it's a great film, and that's a film that really balances like being super out there artsy with some form of structure. select inverse, make a new layer, put it to multiply. Do lilac because we always do lilac. I had my friend wag his finger at me earlier because we were discussing the way certain scenes were not really animated but made in the Superman cartoon, and there's some really bizarre choices there, and he was talking about just shading with light lilac and how that's the easiest way to get really nice shadows, but at the same time it can look like hot garbage if you're not careful, and here I am doing the exact same thing. An anti-body pillow, that's the worst idea I've ever heard in my life. That should be a thing just because it's so terrible. That's so horrible. It's so awful. Oh wow, it's raining hard. Sorry if the mic is picking that up. That's the rain. Not much I can do about that. Things got laggy. Okay, hold on. Let me check. Live. It says it's stream having a stroke. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Fine now? Okay, good. Yeah, it just started raining really hard. I'm still getting a message from YouTube here saying that my video quality is not fantastic. So I do apologize. Let me actually check what is the latency on the stream. Maybe I can lower that stream latency. Oh, I can't change it because I'm busy streaming. Oh well. Sorry if we go down. It started raining out of nowhere. That's just what one has to deal with when you live on the coast. But if the stream struggles a bit, that's probably why. We've been having very bad weather in terms of raining and flooding and all kinds of things. I'm okay where I live, but it's been pretty insane in other places in the country. It's a rainy season where I'm in Canada too. I like the spring. Is it spring in South Africa? Yes, it's spring here at the moment. As much as we have spring, which we don't really have spring here. Spring just means it's not super hot and it's not very cold anymore. And then it becomes like very hot in like a month's time. Somebody else asked me something. Oh, somebody asked how if I'm looking forward to Disney's Wish. I'm not sure. Disney has been not great with their content at the moment. Like, their films have been very mid, and that's for many reasons, some of which I won't go into here because I'll just start yelling at Disney for basically being Disney. So I'm never like super up to date with whatever Disney's doing just because I'm like, oh, Disney. Actually, I should put some shading under this hand here. And under this one too, I think. And maybe on... Oh, you know what? We can actually push this arm back completely because it's on the far side of her. There we go. And we can do that with this leg too, now that I think about it. There we go. And the hat too. Wait, not that. Here. There we go. Do this. I didn't know you lived in New York. No, I do not. It's been raining as shit here. A few weeks ago there was a bunch of flooding. Yes, I heard about that. Apparently, like, the mayor of New York declared a state of emergency or something. I hope you guys are okay now, because, like, that really sucks. But I hope it's okay, or at least it's calmed down at the moment. I think we've calmed down here because our flooding was more waves, like really intense ocean waves, more than it was river flooding or anything along those lines. It was just the ocean being insane. Oh, hey, Dark Frost Star. Oh, wait, what is that character you are drawing? We are drawing Pomni from the Amazing Digital Circus, which is a YouTube short which came out last week and is now sitting at like 17 million views or something. So it's completely taken off in popularity, and it's good from what I've seen so far. I think it has a lot of potential. It's made by Gooseworks, if you are familiar with his content. I think I want to put a rim light on things just because I think it'll look cool. You just got off work? I hope you have a relaxing evening. My brother in New York hasn't, I'm guessing, said anything, so I assume it's fine. Oh, that's good. I want to put this to add glow, pencil, and I think I'm going to put it this fake ass color known as magenta. There we go. The Amazing Digital Circus, yes. 18 million, did it go up? Somebody said it was at 17 million at the start of the stream. Did it seriously jump by like 1 million views in the time I've been streaming? That seems fake. That doesn't seem real. I don't hate magenta. It's just a fake color, that's all. Because our brains can't really see magenta. Our brains, our eyes don't really perceive the color magenta. We don't have the, what's it called? I don't know if spectrogram is the right word. Like, our eyes cannot pick up the actual shade that magenta is. So our brains kind of just do its best to get as close as it can to the real color. So magenta isn't actually real. It's an approximation of what the color actually looks like, as best as our brains can interpret it. We can't see the UV, probably? Yeah, something like that. I know I asked this during the Peach stream, but what's the convention scene like in South Africa? Also, I'm in Georgia, and the weather's only now dipped into the 70s. Georgia, the state, or Georgia, the country? I'm guessing if you say 70s, you mean the state. At the convention, we do have conventions. There's a big one in Joburg called Icon, and it's like the biggest one in Africa as far as I remember, but I don't think that's... I don't know if I want to say that's not as impressive as it sounds, but I think it is worth mentioning. It is a big deal, right? But Icon specifically focuses on gaming, like video games, and then that kind of ropes in like the anime crowd, and that kind of ropes in all the fandom crowd. So Icon is kind of the focus of that, and I believe it's getting bigger every single year. But of course, I've been to San Diego Comic-Con, so that's kind of my basis for comparison, which I know is unfair because I think San Diego Comic-Con, not counting Japan, is like one of the biggest fan conventions in the world. I think Comic-Con is the biggest fan convention in the world, if I remember correctly. But so I'm always like, oh, well, you know, it's not San Diego Comic-Con, but then I don't think many places are. So my basis for comparison is a little bit skewed. State? Okay, yeah, I thought so. It's where I met the Mythbusters and Greedo from Star Wars. I really want to go to a convention someday. I found out as of a few Halloweens ago that I really, really like cosplay. Oh, that's cool. Cosplaying is such a specific personality type, the people who do it specifically, because yes, there's the whole seamstress thing involved, but the main thing of cosplay, as far as I've seen, is the performance. Like, cosplay really is about the performance and the selling of the character that you're cosplaying as, more than it is making the outfit. So it takes a very specific kind of person to be a cosplayer, I think. I was in Cape Town at some other convention. I had a table at the Artist Alley there was a guy who cosplayed as Mettaton, and he had printed out like his own super high quality art cards of him in his Mettaton cosplay, and he was like giving out autographs as Mettaton, and he had like the box on his chest which specifically played Death by Glamour. That was one of the best cosplays and like interpretations of a character in cosplay I've ever seen. Like committing to being that character, that's one of the greatest sells I've ever seen. Cosplay is also OnlyFans advertising. I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be though. How do you feel about Sega doubling down on more classic Sonic nostalgia? I think it's fine. I think Sega really struggles with their identity, and I think Sonic Mania at least gave them some kind of focus for their games, because every single Sonic game is so all over the place and they never really know what they want to do. And then even when they have one successful Sonic game, they completely throw out all conventions of that game and then reinvent the wheel for the next game. So I don't mind them actually having some form of coherency to which direction they want to go in. I actually think it's a smart move. New Sega console win. Hey Eric. The TV monitor guy from Undertale. Oh yes, Mettaton. He is the calculator looking robot that turns into an anime character when you fight him. Which is like that's not me insulting the character, that's literally part of the lore. The scientist who made his robotic body is like a giant weeb, specifically of shoujo and magical girls. So his like human form of his robot body is literally just like a shoujo male protagonist. What do you think of Deltarune? I like Deltarune. I prefer Undertale just because I prefer the consistency of Undertale's world more than I do Deltarune, but I do like Deltarune. I find Deltarune's story so far is turning out to be extremely tragic in a way that I really like. And that being that the game starts out and kind of proceeds with Chris making friends with all these almost outcast characters and people, and he's kind of bringing them together into their friend group, into their friend group. But in the second chapter, you can tell that Chris's friend group, they are becoming closer with each other than they are with Chris. And Chris is more and more being pushed to the side as their friends are forming friendships with each other rather than with Chris. And you can see that really starting to affect Chris's, not even mental health, just Chris's personality and who they are. And I think it's a very sad story, and I don't know if a lot of people are picking up on that's what's happening. And it's really sad. It's a really sad story. Somebody just said Jet Set Radio. Deltarune seems to have much less of an impact than Undertale, which used to be as omnipresent as Minecraft. I think so. I think the thing is, because Deltarune is releasing in chapters, it's unable to deliver the emotional gut punch that Undertale did, where Undertale delivered its emotional gut punch story in a singular package. With Deltarune, it's a singular story, but it's being told in parts. And as such, it hasn't had the opportunity to really deliver the emotional resonance that Undertale has, because we're not there yet in the story. And that's why it doesn't have the presence that Undertale did. And whether or not it manages to achieve that presence when it starts getting to those points in its story, we'll have to see. It all depends on the delivery. Is there anything else I want to do? I mean, I could color her line work. Where are we? We've only been live for like 2 hours. Not even 2 hours, so I can do that. This character is so well designed for animation. She ends up being extremely easy to draw, which means I'm not... Like, I finished the art of her in like a quarter of the time it usually takes me to draw a character just because she's designed so well. Do you know Mepeti? She is an amazing artist. She's also a pretty good critic, having good actual art advice and helpful videos. I'm not really familiar with her. I don't really watch a lot of art YouTubers. I don't know why. I don't think it's for any reason. I think it's just because, you know, I work in the animation industry for a living, and I also make videos talking about animation. So when I watch YouTube, it's usually about things like video games or topics that have nothing to do with art, because it's kind of a reprieve from the actual physicality of drawing something. Whereas art YouTube tends to be like what I'm doing now. It's about making art or giving art advice. So I prefer my YouTube being like my downtime from my actual job, I guess, is what I mean to say. My brother remains to be obsessed with it. However, he also likes to play Payday 2 and Deep Rock Galactic a lot. Not really sure what those are. Bear's mentioning that I was way past the age when Undertale came out. I was more interested in StarCraft, Overwatch, and Battlefield at the time. I mean, I want to say I was past the age when Undertale came out as well, but the thing is, right, I'm an animator, so that kind of becomes a moot point, because it's exactly the kind of game that me, as a cartoon animator, would gravitate towards. Hey, Ruffin. What does the word C-Puff mean? When I was 13 years old, I was very into the Powerpuff Girls, and all the Powerpuff Girls' names start with B. So I had like a OC self-insert character who was like a terrible bootleg Powerpuff Girl. So her name was literally C-Puff because she wasn't good enough to get like a B name. And in fact, she wasn't good enough to get a name at all. So she just had like C-Puff as her name, because she was just like this like off-brand version of a Powerpuff Girl. Suspiciously detailed clown person art stream. Hey, maybe I'm into clowns. You don't know. You don't know my life. Wait, so you mean to say you're a person with varied and eclectic interests and you're not solely defined by your career? I know, right? The career only takes up 80% of my personality. So the red-haired villain is Apuff. Who would be Apuff? I'm not sure. I want to say, would Miss Bellum be Apuff? Because she's like the top tier character in that show, I would think. Who are you drawing? I've seen her everywhere the last few weeks. This is Pomni, and she is from a YouTube pilot episode that dropped last week called The Amazing Digital Circus. And it's doing extremely well. Apparently it's now on 18 million views in 7 days. And it's made by a well-known YouTuber called Gooseworks. And it's 22 minutes long, which is very impressive for a free on YouTube pilot episode. And a lot of people were very into it, especially like, I know a lot of people who are into Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. A lot of them really enjoy it so far. Speaking of which, I don't think I'll be able to, just because the Superman episode is taking up so much time and my other time is just being taken up by actually working. But I was thinking of talking about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie when it comes out. I've never been in the Five Nights at Freddy's fandom. It's never really been something I'm super into, but I really enjoy horror movies. And I have enough of a crossover interest with Five Nights at Freddy's where a lot of people that are in fandoms that I'm in are also into the Five Nights at Freddy's fandom. So it's kind of like a fandom-in-law of mine, where I know all this information and I've watched all these Let's Plays and I know a lot about the franchise, even though it's not really a fandom I've been part of. So I thought that might be interesting to talk about, especially, like I said, I am a big horror fan, specifically movies. I love horror movies, and I think it would be interesting to talk about in terms of just how does this function as a horror movie, because I think there'll be a lot of videos dissecting into like, ooh, what does it mean, and like, ooh, this Easter egg, and like, oh, this is a reference to so and so, and this is a reference to FNAF World, and this is a reference to the Silver Eyes novel or whatever. And I don't know how many people are going to view it just as a horror movie. So that might be something I do, but if I do, it'll be a very low-key video. It might just be me talking without a script off the top of my head for like 10 minutes. But I'm a little sad that the videos have been delayed just because of all the real work that I'm doing lately, because that was something I was hoping to do, but I don't know if that's going to be realistic for me to actually get out, let alone get it out in time. But it's okay, because I think my thinking was the My Adventures with Superman cartoon, not only is it a new cartoon, but it's about DC and Superman, and I feel those are kind of evergreen topics which people will always be interested in hearing about, regardless of how new or in the zeitgeist it is at the time of its release, right? FNAF is going to be a hilarious event. It really is. Make sure to film your Markiplier reaction. No, I do not film very well. I don't like the way I look on film. I don't mind the way I look. I just don't like the way I look on film, if that makes sense. I think I look perfectly okay in person, but film, not so much. Fun fact, the animation is done by Toy of Transformers and more who are we? What are we talking about? What did Andrea say that you're responding to? Andrea, what did you say? Here we go. I've seen the Powerpuff Girls anime. I love the design for him, but I never got super into it. I see. Apparently... Oh, no, it isn't apparently. It's actually true. The character designer who worked on Oja Moja Doremi worked on the Powerpuff Girls anime. And if you like Oja Moja, you'll really like the Powerpuff Girls anime from what I've seen. I've heard Oja Moja is a lot better, but that's kind of what my understanding is of the Powerpuff Girls anime. Animate your Markiplier reaction. Do you know how long that would take? And I do not have the cash to like buy a VTuber model just to do a Markiplier reaction. That would be funny though. Can you imagine spending like $1,000 on a VTuber model and you figure out how to set it up and rig it, and you get like the iPhone going for the face capture and everything, and you do all of that just so that you can do like a reaction to the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and then you never use it again? That would be hilarious. But again, my sense of humor is very bad. I've got a terrible sense of humor. Hi, Robin Faye. The Powerpuff Girls anime had My Little Pony English voice actors and Sonic Prime voice director. I didn't know that. It would be quite hilarious, I will not lie. Again, I just have this terrible sense of humor where what I find funny is just really stupid. Like, things that are very stupid is what I find funny. Write it off as a business expense. I would still have to spend the cash, though. Now, if I ever make, like... Who makes a lot of money on YouTube that we know of? I don't know who I can use as a comparison. If I ever make, like, PewDiePie money, I'll do that for, like, one video just to be funny. But even then, I think I would feel bad. I would feel like I would cringe too much at spending that much money just on the joke. As you heard, I nearly died because of this shipping fiasco with the Garrus body pillow, just because of how much money that ended up costing me. And I was able to afford it, thank goodness, but it was not an experience I would like to repeat. So I don't think I'm going to be spending $1,000 on a VTuber avatar just for one video, as hilarious as that would be. Let's compare our income to PewDiePie. Let's not. In fact, let's not talk about PewDiePie at all. Is he even still a thing? I assume he's still a thing. Oh, also, I need to watch the trailer. I haven't got around to it yet. I need to watch the trailer that Markiplier put out for the Iron Lung, because I really like the Iron Lung video game. I think it's a fantastic concept. I love the world that it takes place in. So I really want to check out that trailer, because I'm very excited about the fact that Markiplier just decided to do an Iron Lung movie. He's probably still a thing. Yeah, probably. I don't like top tier YouTubers. It seems like they expect it to be obnoxious and I can't deal. Yeah, kind of. There's like, I'm sure there's been videos done on that like tracks a YouTuber's line of, not even progress, but it's like when a YouTuber gets higher sub counts and views, their content gets worse and it all starts to blend together into like one mold. And I think it's because that mold is the easiest way to get a lot of money with as little, not as little effort as possible, but with minimal effort. Because I made a post about this on Tumblr because it was driving me crazy. I unsubbed from Moist Critical, not for any moral outrage or anything, but because I was getting very annoyed that every single Moist Critical video had like a nothing title that didn't tell me anything about what the video was about, and then the thumbnail was just him sitting in his chair. And I'm like, dude, I don't have time for you to waste it on whatever nonsense. I'm not going to click on your video just because you're the person who made it, thinking that I might be interested in what the topic is of this video. You're just wasting my time. So I just unsubbed from him, because all his videos are called things like, this happened to me, or I can't believe this, or they need to stop doing this. Like, that's every single video title, and it was driving me insane. I got so tired of it. And I think, because I think Pyrocynical does that as well. I don't know if Pyrocynical does it because he looks up to Moist Critical, or because he, like, Moist Critical is somebody he admires. But Pyrocynical does that a lot too, where his videos have like nothing titles. That doesn't tell you anything about what the content of the video is actually about. Here's something interesting. Mark was originally supposed to cameo in the FNAF movie, but wasn't able to due to scheduling conflicts with filming for the Iron Lung. Oh, that's a big shame. Although somebody said they should do a version of the FNAF movie where it's literally just Markiplier's face in the corner. Like, that's the whole movie. Oh, let's not talk about SS Sniper Wolf, because that is a giant mess that I do not have all the information about, and it sounds like the kind of topic that would just get me like very frustrated and angry talking about, because it involves like a lot of injustice, and it involves YouTube as a platform. And as somebody who is currently making an okay amount of income from YouTube, it's stressful for me to really talk about the infrastructure of the site itself and the site's income and how Sniper Wolf factors into that and blah, 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 blah. It's a mess. It's a giant mess. Since when did YouTubers become celebrities? Oh, forever. When did the Fred movie come out? Like in 2010 or something? New layer here, put it on overlay, and let me just start marking these with the right color so I know what's going on. Here we go. Well, I've got the now actually I'm not going to follow the exact colors I have on her, otherwise it'll look ugly. And I think purple, not that dark. No, it's a little bit harsh. Nah, it's too light. I suppose I can just go grayscale. That's okay. That's fine. Don't dox either. Yeah. That's the takeaway from the whole Sniper Wolf mess. Don't dox people. that is the end of the conversation. Don't do it. Since the CA debacle, which shows both sides are in the wrong, I just washed my hands of the whole thing and moved on. Yeah, you know what? That's the best option. It's the best thing to do. Just be like, y'all are all nuts. I'm out of here. Actually, I want to duplicate this layer. Come on, duplicate layer. Put it there. And then move it slightly like that. And then go here and then put a border on this. Here we go. And I mean, I've still only been live for 2 hours. This was very quick. Let's turn down the not multiplay, the overlay layer. Let's just turn that down a bit so it's not as harsh. I'm gonna grab some colors from the background here and then just kind of slap it on there. I'm not going to do a detailed background, it'll take too long. And also, if you want to do like an actual background to something, you should kind of start planning the background as you're doing the sketch, rather than just draw the character and then try and make a background for them to stand on top of after the fact. That's a very bad way to do things. Don't do it that way. This is a GIF. I wonder, can I copy this image, or will Clip Studio Paint just have a absolute conniption? Ah, no, it won't. Okay, great. Do this. Here we go. If you have money, crime is a hobby. I mean, I guess so. Grab a stock image for the background. Nah, it's okay, because I've only been streaming for 2 hours, so I might as well just futz a background here that doesn't take that long to do. Refer only to editing layer. How's your weekend so far, chat? That is what Ifkin is asking. I should probably be the one asking that, but Ifkin beat me to it. We actually have electricity here at the moment, so I'm looking forward to just playing Mass Effect like the entire day tomorrow. That is my plan for Sunday, is to sit down and play goddamn Mass Effect, because I've been working my ass off the entire week. And so I want to use my free time to emotionally devastate myself. So those are my plans. I plan on crying a lot because I'm busy playing Mass Effect 3. And Mass Effect 3 is just crying for 80 hours straight. And it's my favorite game. Magenta background! Emmy stream Mass Effect 24-hour stream tomorrow? No, Mass Effect 3 stream, gaming session just with me and myself, so that I can ugly cry about all the story events that happen. Mass Effect 3 could have been perfect. That's what really makes me cry. I do think Mass Effect 3 is perfect, and I vastly disagree with people who have complaints about the ending. I just simply don't agree. And I actually, I'm doing it now for the first time. I've never played the extended ending. I've only ever played the vanilla ending, which so many people had a problem with. And I just disagree. I don't think the ending is bad. I think the ending is actually perfect, and I really like what they did, and I love the story beats, and I think it's exactly what I want it to be. And I also think it's one of the most emotionally devastating endings to a game ever. Oh no, it's is the Mass Effect 3 ending, without spoilers, because I know there are people in the chat who have not played it, is the Mass Effect 3 ending more emotionally devastating than the Silent Hill 2 ending? And of course I'm talking about the dog ending. No, I mean the Silent Hill ending in terms of like in water, or the escape ending. Yeah, we can ugly laugh whenever Kai Ling shows up. Yeah, Kai Ling is kind of hilarious because Kai Ling is like, you know, Shepard tells the elusive man to go fuck himself, and then the elusive man throws a tantrum, and then he has Kai Ling, and it feels like Kai Ling isn't like Shepard at all, and yet it still feels like Kai Ling is kind of the bootleg Shepard. Like, the elusive man is super upset that Shepard told him to take a hike, so he just roped in Kai Ling, and he's like, oh yeah, well, I don't need Shepard anymore, I've got Kai Ling, and it's just really funny to me. It's like, okay, elusive man, if that makes you feel better, you can have Kai Ling. Lord knows none of us want him. Mass Effect has the most emotionally devastating ending. Klonoa would like to have a word with you. I'm sorry, the ending of Mass Effect 3 beats the Klonoa ending. I'm very sorry that you have to learn this very harsh truth from me, but it's unfortunately the reality that we live in as a society. And hide that. And now we can futz around with what would you call this? Post-processing? I don't know. Like, layers that make things look better than they actually are. I know Silent Hill 2 is considered the best, but I still prefer the third. I mean, that's fine. I like the second more, but it's literally only because of my preference in storytelling. It's not because it's a better game or a better story. It's just the kind of story that I prefer, which is different to whether it being good or bad. Here we go. I want it bigger than that. Turn that down a little. Here we go. I would say so, yes. Even with all the misgivings I have about the ending, I would say, given the scope of Mass Effect's story, it's a phenomenal, emotionally powerful ending. See, I think so. And again, I don't want to get too much into it because I know there are people in the chat who might not have played it, and I do want everybody to play it. It's like my goal in life to be a Mass Effect propaganda machine, and just like, if I'm annoying enough about it, more people will play it. Maybe if I'm as annoying as possible, it might like peer pressure other people into playing it as well. But see, my thinking, my perspective is that I found Mass Effect 3's ending to be narratively satisfying. I found that the ending for Mass Effect 3 is perfect from a narrative standpoint, whereas the criticisms that I've heard why people dislike it is because they feel that it didn't take into account their input enough. They would have wanted their decisions in the trilogy as a whole to have more impact on the ending. And although I can kind of understand that, I'm looking at it from a storytelling perspective first and foremost. And that is why I don't think the ending has a problem, because I find it a good ending for the story being told. And I'm not really thinking about it in terms of me as a video game player changing the ending based on every single decision I've made throughout the entire game. There are 3 endings to choose from, and I make my choice based on those 3 endings. And I do wonder, I've had very uncharitable things to say about people who have a problem with the ending, and I do think it's a little unfair of me, but part of that comes from frustration, because I do think a lot of criticisms are not very valid. But I do wonder if some people have a problem with Mass Effect 3's ending, because there is no singular happy ending. All 3 endings of Mass Effect that you can choose from are terribly tragic in one way or another. There is no ending where everyone lives happily ever after. And I do wonder if that has something to do with the fact that a lot of people were upset with it. I wonder if a lot of people were upset because they wanted the happy ending where everybody has a happy ending and they move on with their lives, and you save the galaxy and you get to be a hero. And the game doesn't give you that. The game does have a quote-unquote happy ending, but it's incredibly tragic. And like I said, part of me wonders if that's why people were upset, because they didn't get a happy ending in a more traditional sense. I know nothing, literally nothing about Mass Effect, just being a dirty weeb. I'm indifferent to most Western games. I thought you were going to be like, I'm different to most Western fans, but I'm indifferent to most Western games. But I do like the posts about it you make on Tumblr. I'm glad. I want to get back to making comics. Like I said, I've just been so busy with literally everything, because I feel like I should focus my time on working on YouTube videos for my channel, rather than taking that time just to draw fan art. I want to manage my time more efficiently, but that's also why I'm going to play Mass Effect like all day tomorrow, because I just need a day off. Did I work last weekend? I don't know if I worked last weekend. I might have. Again, we're working, if you weren't here earlier, they put a lot of Sakuga in my lap, and our deadline is pretty crunch. Well, not crunch, that's the wrong word. My employers don't crunch me, actually. I don't have to deal with crunch. But, you've got a deadline, and the deadline is clutch. That's the word I'm looking for. The deadline is pretty clutch. So I've been pouring a lot of time, as much as I'm able to without hurting my wrist, into working on the scene. So whatever free time I have, which isn't a lot, I have been putting into working on the video for YouTube. So as a result, I haven't had a lot of time off just to kind of relax. So tomorrow I'm just playing Mass Effect 3 for like the whole day because I'm exhausted and I really need to take some time off before I just like make myself sick or something. I wonder, what are your opinions of Andromeda? I have not played Andromeda, and the reason why I have not played Andromeda is because when Andromeda came out, Angry Joe had like an hour-long review of it, where he said a bunch of things, and I don't even remember everything he said, but of everything he said, there is a brief moment where he says this. I'm gonna drop it into Streamlabs and see if it works properly. He says this, and this told me everything I needed to know about Andromeda. There we go. So how do we do this? Do I drop it into frame? And do I say transition? Let me see if this works, but this is what Angry Joe had to say if this plays properly.
God, I miss Shepard so much. I don't even take half a Shepard.
Goes out to you, Shepard.
This guy is a fourth of Shepard. God,
so that's what Angry Joe said.
I miss Shepard so much.
And that told me everything I needed to know. And I was like, oh, okay, I see. And I did buy it. I have it in my Steam library, but I haven't gotten to it yet, and I'll probably play it at some point, but I'm not going to play it directly after playing Mass Effect 3 again, because that's going to be very painful and disappointing. So I will play it eventually, but it won't be right now, because I am fully experiencing Mass Effect brain rot. It'll have to be when I'm kind of distracted by something else, and then I won't like have my heart stomped into the ground too much playing Andromeda, because if nothing else, it looks pretty. Aside from the fact that the Turians look like absolute trash, the environments look very pretty. So there are some fun things to find in it, I feel, and I think I will enjoy just the landscape and being in that environment, but I'm not expecting it to blow my mind in any way, and I'm upset by how the Turians look, and my friend said to me it's because of the lighting engine in the game. The lighting engine just makes the Turians look terrible. They're all like blown out and white, and I mean like white like Pomni is in this drawing. They're like, oh, let me start the music again. they're like this white blasted color, and I'm like, why? Why are you white? So, you know, I'm sure. Will it be okay? Will it even be okay? Maybe it won't be as bad as everybody says it is, but I'm not expecting it to be this incredible experience or anything. I am at least expecting it to be pretty, and that is where my expectations end. And maybe you could borrow a page from Super Butterbuns and make a video called Mass Effect for Beginners. Maybe. The thing is, I'm busy doing these streams on my gaming channel, and I know they don't get amazing views or anything, but I kind of feel like that is what those streams are supposed to be. They're for people to experience Mass Effect who wouldn't play it themselves. I think I keep fussing with this drawing, but I think that's about as much as I can do with it without overworking it. So I'm not sure what else we should do, because we have like an hour, not an hour. We have about 40 minutes or so where I can still hang out, and I'm not going to just sit here and chat for like 40 minutes with nothing on screen. That's not fun. So let's get something else going. What can we do that's like very quick and not super intensive? You have a gaming channel? I do. Let me drop it in chat. I need to do the edited videos for the last 2 Mass Effect streams I did, just because they're very story heavy, so they take a lot of time. And again, my time hasn't been super great at the moment, but I'm hoping to get those done for you guys as well, because I'm cutting down the streams because they're like 5 hours, 4 hours, and I'm trying to cut them down where I cut out a lot of the downtime. So if you only want the story beats, you can watch the edited. No, I don't want to switch accounts. That's a bad idea. So you can just kind of get the story beats without watching me run around for like an hour. Although I will admit, I do use that hour of running around just dumping lore about Mass Effect onto chat, where I just tell them random things I know about the lore just off the top of my head. So, I mean, there's that. So here's the link to the gaming channel. Kirby? We can do Kirby. Oh, you know what? Should we do Kirby wearing Pomni's hat? Let's do that. This is going to sound silly, but I might have to look up how to draw Kirby, just because Kirby is such a simplistic shape, which means it's extremely easy to screw up what Kirby looks like. Just because there's so little to Kirby's shape. So you gotta get the simplistic elements right, or they look weird. Yeah, let me I don't know, let me just finish the circle, then I'll maybe grab some reference. Never played Mass Effect, but I've been following them. Oh, that's good. Hope you're enjoying them so far. I am going to use like clips from one of the streams I did, because one of my points in the Superman video is going to be that I am not a hardcore superhero fan. So there will be references and Easter eggs in the Superman cartoon that I'm going to miss. And one of the big reasons is because my head is so full of useless Mass Effect lore that I don't have the mental capacity to also memorize a bunch of superhero lore. And then I'm just going to show that clip I did in one of the live streams where somebody randomly asked me as I'm running around whether Turians give live, if they lay eggs or not. And I'm just like, no, actually Turians give live birth, blah, 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 blah. And it's just all off the top of my head, because I thought that moment was really funny and just like really illustrated the level of brain rot I have, that I know all this nonsense. Weird question. Have you ever eaten tofu? Bento Bus is going to be at the con, and I'm thinking of trying their tofu dishes. I have had tofu, but only in like miso and things like that. I haven't really experimented with tofu, and I'm okay with tofu, but I'm actually allergic to soy. So I tend to be very careful with soy food in general, because it might be a very bad time. I have the big misfortune of having both a soy allergy and being lactose intolerant at the same time. So that's fun for me. That's about right, right? This foot might be a bit big. I think Kirby is a little bit rounder. Yeah, that looks better. Okay. I said I was going to get reference, but I'm not. I'm too lazy. This is a very big Kirby. Hold on. Here we go. Hey CPuff, what do you think of The Greatest Living Show by Toby Fox? I'm not great with names, so I'm not entirely sure which song that is. I do know it's a song he's done, I'm just not sure which one it is. I don't really know a lot of the, like even the Undertale tracks, I don't really know by name very well. I know Death by Glamour, I know Spider Dance, and I know Bone Trousled. And I think there's one called Spear of Justice, and like that's the extent of my knowledge in terms of the names of the tracks. I know what they sound like, I just don't know what they called, a lot of them. Astonish Kirby is best Kirby. I find Kirby hilarious just in concept. That Kirby is, for all intents and purposes, this eldritch... He's like Cthulhu. He's like this elder god from beyond space. With like these insane universe-destroying powers. But he's also a baby. Bye, Efkin. So he's just this little baby with like these amazing powers. But like... His only like goal in life is to like kiss his friends and eat food and have fun, and like that's the extent of it. And then you read like the Kirby lore and it's all the most insane thing you've ever heard in your entire life. And I'm just going to merge these layers, turn on the opacity, there we go. Lactose intolerant? Bro, just be more open-minded. You're right. I really should work on my intolerance towards lactose. I'm laughing. Did you guys ever watch the Sam and Max cartoon? There is an alien in that cartoon that's like, I'm lactose, the intolerant. And I don't know why, it's like one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Kirby is a god killer? Yeah, something like that. Yeah, Kirby saves the universe in Smash Ultimate. Isn't that the reason that Kirby is the only character in Smash Ultimate that doesn't get eaten by the main bad guy? Is because he's Kirby and he's like an elder god. So he literally can't be beaten. It's impossible. And also because he's Sakurai's character and Sakurai wanted his OC to be the best one. Which, I mean, fair enough, right? If you're Sakurai, you can basically do what you want. Do you like Lauryn Hill? I'm not familiar. The Greatest Living Show is actually an animated music video that's actually unrelated to Undertale. It's both beautiful and disturbing at the same time. Oh, okay. No, I'm not super familiar with it. I'll have to look it up. Like I said, it's a miracle that I actually watched The Amazing Digital Circus a week after it came out, because usually it takes me like a year, if not more, to get to things. All my Mass Effect mutuals on Tumblr have all been playing Baldur's Gate 3. And I really want to play Baldur's Gate 3, but I know it's going to be something I'm only going to get to in like 2027 or something by the rate I get to things. So I already know it's a game I'm going to like, but it's also a game that's only going to get played in like a year's time at best. Kirby is the end, make no mistake. Kirby, if they were malicious, could be the end of everything. Yeah, like that's as I understand it as well. Kirby is like literally Cthulhu, but they're also a baby. Back in 2021, did you watch Wonder Egg Priority? I did not. However, I heard that the ending was extremely disappointing. And I know that's a little hypocritical considering what I've just said about the Mass Effect 3 ending. But from what I understand, that the project was a little over ambitious for its studio and they failed to stick the landing at the end. Simply because it was so successful and it kind of got out of hand with what the studio was able to accomplish. Which is sad because for a original concept and property that's not based on anything, for it to have been as successful as it was is kind of unheard of. But I haven't gotten to it yet. I heard it's very good though. Besides the ending, but I mean that's fine. Maybe I won't have a problem with that ending either. It depends though, because like as I said about Trigun in my favorite anime review or list or whatever you want to call it, Trigun has a very rushed ending. This is the original 98 one. It has a very rushed ending, but the rest of Trigun is so good, I actually don't mind that the ending is a little bit rushed and clumsy, just because the rest of it is so good. Yeah, I'm gonna ink him because we've got time. I'm not in a rush. Since Lupin the Third is your favorite anime, you owe it to yourself to watch The Bad Guys from DreamWorks. That movie is literally a furry version of Lupin the Third. You are not the first person to tell me so. I need to get to it. I have a friend who is also an animator, and he told me that he loved The Bad Guys specifically because it was so much like Lupin the Third. And I mean, he's big into Lupin as well, so if he is singing the movie's praises, especially because he's very hard to impress, then I know it's actually worth my time. Are you interested in watching any Star Wars TV shows? Not really. I mean, I'm watching EFAP watch the Star Wars TV shows. I don't know if that counts. Unpopular opinion. Porco Rosso's non-ending was genius for what is essentially a snapshot of someone's life and was never supposed to have a real conclusion. Yeah, I think Porco Rosso's ending is fine as well. Because Porco Rosso, it barely has a plot, per se. It does have a plot, but if the plot is what you're watching that movie for, then you're... Is it extremely pretentious to say that you're watching the movie for the wrong reason? Because I think that's a terrible thing to say. You shouldn't say that about somebody, but at the same time, I think you are focusing on the wrong thing if you are watching Porco Rosso for its plot, right? I was watching a reaction video earlier in the week, and the person who was watching it, he was part of a group of people watching it, and he wasn't a big fan of Coraline because he felt that the moral of the story was pretty basic, which is, you know, don't be happy with what you've got, be careful what you wish for. And I felt that if the moral of the story of Coraline is what you're focusing on, then of course you're not going to be super impressed with Coraline, because Coraline is not trying to be a morality story. That's not its focus. Its focus is to deliver an experience. Specifically, it's trying to deliver a horror story that is accessible to children, and it is trying to communicate the art of stop motion animation. That is that movie's core. That is the conversation that its creators are trying to have with you, the audience. So if you are watching Coraline as a morality tale, then you're kind of approaching it from the wrong direction. And like I said, I don't think you should ever tell somebody they're watching something for the wrong reasons or their interpretation of a film is incorrect. But sometimes people's interpretation of a film is incorrect. I'm sorry, it's the truth. It's like people who watch the movie Lolita and then think it's like a romance. Do you know what I mean? It's the kind of person who watches Lolita and is like, oh, that was a very good love story. It's like, no, you absolutely watched this movie wrong. What are you talking about? It's like the person, you know the song Every Breath You Take, which I'm not gonna sing because I don't want to sing on camera. I'm not that confident. But the song Every Breath You Take, which is literally about a stalker stalking somebody, like legit, it's about a stalker. And I forget who the band is who wrote Every Breath You Take. Police, thank you. And the lead singer would say, people would come up to him and say, oh, we played the song as our wedding dance. And he'd always just be like, well, good luck with your marriage. Oh dear. But yeah, so it's like you listen to the song the wrong way. So I don't think one should tell somebody that they watched a movie or TV show the wrong way, but I think that some people legitimately do watch movies and TV shows the wrong way. But at the same time, you can't always discount somebody's takeaway from a movie, because I've heard people like really hate movies that I think are great, and then their reasons for hating it, I like hearing their perspective, because even though I vastly disagree with why they dislike it, their perspective might actually be a very valid one, right? And at the same time, there are movies that I hate and that people like, and like if they tell me why they like the movie, they might actually have a very legitimate reason for why they enjoy the movie that is like meaningful, rather than just you know, oh, I like it because it's Star Wars. There are people who like things for extremely legitimate and meaningful reasons, even though I might absolutely hate the film. So I don't really like saying you're watching it wrong or you're experiencing the film wrong. But at the same time, then there are some people where you're like, dude, I don't know how that is your takeaway for this movie or this game or this TV show. I mean, if somebody says Frodo and Sam are gay, they are wrong. Well, see, that's the thing. Because then you're getting into the realm of like, I know it's not canon, but I want to explore that as a concept, right? And that's not impacting on canon. That's taking canon and saying, I understand that this is not what canon is saying. However, I find the dynamic between these two characters interesting, and I want to explore it when placed within these parameters of being a romance. And I mean, that's fine, right? It's just when you get like angry at the creators for not making your ship canon that it starts getting into a realm of like, well, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Frodo and Sam are friends? Yeah, no, I agree. And like I said, a lot of people, even people who do the like Frodo and Sam ship, they will be the first ones to be like, no, I fully know that this is not canon. I fully understand what canon is. I just want to kind of explore this as a concept in writing or art or whatever. And I think that's fine. I think you can do that because it leads you to like taking the same personality and changing the situation of the two characters. My issue with shipping is I don't like it when people ship characters and take absolutely 0% of their character into consideration. And then the only reason why they ship those two characters is because they stood next to each other, or because they are so brain rotted that they cannot experience media outside of the concept of there being some form of romance in it. And I see that a lot, and that drives me crazy. But most shipping doesn't work like that. Most shipping are people who just want to explore the personality of the characters as they exist, and then see what would happen with those personalities if you change the dynamic, whether it completely breaks the relationship or whether it changes it into something else. It's a playing with concepts. It's like playing with the narrative to see what you can make of it, kind of thing. You mean like the douchebags on Twitter getting mad over Yamato from One Piece? Oh dear. I wanted to ask, is there drama on Twitter about One Piece? And then I realized I was about to ask if there was drama on Twitter, and just asking that question, I already kind of have my answer. Tons of millennials started exploring queerness through Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I mean, I can understand why. One Piece doesn't have romance and is still extremely successful. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I'm not caught up with One Piece, but I guess that's true. I know that Luffy is canonically ace. I do know that. But like I said, I don't have an issue with shipping as a concept. I get annoyed. It's not even that I have an issue. I get annoyed with shipping if it is done with zero consideration for the character's personality or setting or anything like that, and people are literally only doing it because they can't interact with a piece of media without there being some form of romance in it. And that romance, it doesn't matter how shallow it is, how surface level, it has nothing to do with who the characters are. It's literally about the trope. That's when I get very annoyed. And then I have to remind myself that a lot of people that do that are like 14. But then I also have to remind myself that a lot of those people are also not 14 and are like in their 40s and 30s. I didn't know more until Sarah Z covered it. Same as I got in Spice. I'm not sure what more is. I assume there is a conversation in chat happening that I have not been keeping up with. Sarah Z's video about the more shipping idea is still one of the most baffling fanfic stories. I'm gonna have to look that up. Although it might just make me frustrated and angry. I tried to rewatch Quentin Review's video about Sam and Cat because I want to watch his new video, like the part 2 of that review. But then I remembered that he goes into a big talk about like the shipping of Sam and Cat, specifically the ships that fans were getting into fights over, and I just became tired thinking about it and remembering that discussion in that video, and then I stopped watching the video. I'm like, I do not have the mental capacity this week to deal with shipping. Like, specifically that kind of shipping. And it's specifically for characters like the ones in Sam and Cat. It's like, really? But again, I feel like I'm passing judgment unfairly here. Just because it's not something I'm into, you know? And I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't pass judgment on things just because it's something that I'm not into. But at the same time, it is something that I find frustrating. Quentin's sanity has forever been damaged by being damned to watch the entirety of Nickelodeon sitcoms. This is true. Like, I don't know if he'll ever be the same. Nickelodeon sitcoms, it's not even that they've rotted his brain in the way that you would normally think. I don't think he even really likes them. He wants to talk about them because he finds them baffling. And he has unfortunately become the expert on them, even though he isn't specifically a fan of them. And that's a horrible position to be in, because that's just gonna, like, that's the kind of brain rot that Quentin Reviews has about the Nickelodeon sitcoms. Sorry, are we arguing? Let me just check. Because when I start rambling about a topic, I'm looking at my drawing or I'm flapping my hands about as I'm speaking, and then I lose track of what people are saying in chat. He liked iCarly. Yeah, but from what I understand, that was one of the Nickelodeon sitcoms he watched when he was of the age for when that show was made, right? Like, he likes iCarly because he watched iCarly when he was the demographic for that sitcom. Amanda Show was peak for humanity. The Amanda Show was so good. The Amanda Show was... I like, you want to know my terrible sense of humor? A lot of my really awful sense of humor was shaped by The Amanda Show. Even though I was always a bigger fan of Kenan and Kel, like, that was the sitcom I liked the most. And All That as well, I liked All That a lot. But Kenan and Kel, that was the one I watched almost every single time it came on. And I think Good Burger, even though it's not Kenan and Kel, kind of falls into that. Like, I liked the Good Burger movie a lot, and that was also one I had on VHS, so I watched it a lot. But even though I liked Kenan and Kel more, I think the Amanda Show shaped my sense of humor to a bigger degree. Miranda Cosgrove in iCarly was certainly the sexual awakening for a lot of millennials and older Zoomers. I just read that. Yeah, Quentin's Nickelodeon quest mirrors Linkara's Power Rangers quest. It began as a passing fascination and now you're damned to be the expert on the topic. Exactly. It's that, like, it's a hell of your own making. My favorite Nickelodeon sitcom will always be Clarissa Explains It All. That one's very good as well. I didn't like it as much as the others, but I did watch a lot of Clarissa Explains It All. Ooh, almost tripped over my words there. I think, because that was like the time period of when I really enjoyed Nickelodeon the most. I think I was a little young for the shows like Clarissa Explains It All and whatever. And also my English, it was good, but there were still certain words that I wasn't super sure what they meant or the context. So I liked watching the Nickelodeon sitcoms of that time because there was this weird, unfamiliar air to them. And it was because I didn't always understand what was going on or what people were saying. So there was this really bizarre, like, Twilight Zone experience of watching a lot of those shows. And then by the time I was watching Kenan and Kel, I was in an English high school and everything, so I don't know if I was in high school by that stage, but you know what I mean. I was speaking fluent English by that point, so they didn't really have the same effect, but like Clarissa Explains It All and all that and things like that had a very specific vibe to them because of my grasp of the English language. Lindsay Ellis chose to be the expert on anything Phantom of the Opera related to. Yes, but I think she actually enjoys opera, Phantom. I think she has a legitimate enjoyment of that show. Should I make Kirby white like Pomni is? Or should I leave Kirby as pink? Also, you're looking forward to Good Burger 2 on Paramount Plus? No, because I feel Good Burger is such a product of its time that I think for there to be a sequel now, it would either have to be a completely different thing, or it's going to try and mimic what it was in the 90s, and I don't think that's going to work, especially not with the characters or the actors no longer being teenagers and both being adults. I feel that The Good Burger 2 will have to morph into something completely different to be interesting as a movie, and at that point, I don't know whether one would still identify it as Good Burger 2 in that aspect. Kirby always stays pink. Magenta Kirby! Yeah, we can keep Kirby pink, or you know what we could do? We could do this. Through the power of editing, I guess. I don't know. It's not really editing. Do this. Second Kirby. There we go. Now we've got two. You can tell my voice is going by the end of the stream because I'm unable to make really obnoxious voices. What about a potential Clarissa reboot? I mean, it could work. It's just difficult. Quentin actually talks about it in his video a lot, with the changing demographic of Nickelodeon. It's rather difficult because Clarissa Explains It All was very much aimed towards a teenage audience, whereas these days most teenagers aren't really watching that kind of content anymore. They're mostly watching... Well, I guess not, because if you put it on a streaming platform, it'll have much better success instead of like Nickelodeon TV. It might have a chance if you do that. But again, you would have to completely change like how the show functions because of where teenagers are in I said the word zeitgeist earlier, so I'm using the word zeitgeist again, but like in popular culture, like where teenagers are and the way they think and such. Clarissa Explains It All would be a hard sell because of the way teenagers interact with media these days and what they expect from media these days. Not that teenagers are any smarter or more mature than they were in the 90s. It's just their way of perceiving media and interpreting media is different to how it was in the 90s. They could still enjoy Clarissa Explains It All as it is, but that's because they would be watching the original Clarissa Explains It All with the context that this is a sitcom from the 90s, whereas a brand new Clarissa would have to take into account the way the teenagers perceive media and what they expect and things like that. TikTok is rotting our kids' brains. Always keep a bottle of water handy. Let me grab some actually. Hydrate. TikTok is a toxic platform. I don't really know. Because the only TikTok videos I see are the ones that are like peer reviewed and put onto Tumblr. So I only see the quote unquote good ones, because I only see the ones that people find funny enough to put on Tumblr. So I have a very weird perception of what TikTok is, because I'm like, yes, TikTok, they make the funny memes and the funny skits and things, and then there's a whole side of TikTok that's just absolute trash that I have no idea about. Nickelodeon had a huge influence on the design and aesthetic of the Splatoon games, which was a big reason for its popularity. Oh, that's interesting, and actually that makes a lot of sense now that you mention it. Like, that would make sense to me. I don't know if that's true or not, but it does make sense in terms of that aesthetic being attractive to a certain demographic. Like, that makes sense to me. Hey guys, let's do the jump off a bridge challenge. Let's do the fork in the garbage disposal. The Shrek of its day, and also don't stand up to scrutiny now. What are you replying to? Let me just check. I missed what that was. And I don't want to scroll up too far, because then again I completely lose what chat's talking about. I think that's it for art though. It's almost 11, so let's put Pomni on screen again, and then we can chat for a little bit before we say goodnight for the evening. I am going to turn my tablet off though, so just heads up, this is my laptop, not yours. Okay, there we go. And I can jump over to YouTube. There we go. Hey guys. That's an apocalyptic reference. I never stop thinking about let's do the fork in the garbage disposal. I think about that at least once a day. It's so iconic. And of course, I have seen the original video, but my exposure to let's do the fork in the garbage disposal is specifically that video from Dark Souls 3 where the guy's wearing a metallic pointy hat. So he slides down the ladder and the hat hits every single rung on the ladder as he goes, and it's like ding 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 ding. Like, that was my first exposure to that song. So that's what I think of when I think of that song specifically. Oh no, my laptop! Throw Kirby into this picture? Okay. Kirby won't be shaded or anything, but we can throw him in here. Actually, let me just turn this off and then I can just merge these layers. Oh, it doesn't want me to. Okay, well, we can layer, merge visible layers. There we go. Then I can grab this Kirby. I'll grab them both. I'll just put them on either sides of Pomni. You can stand there. And then you can stand here. And we're gonna flip you, and you'll probably be extremely off balance because I didn't flip my picture when I drew you. Yep, completely off balance and very skewed. This is why you flip your drawings, people. There we go. Oh, I didn't give her any shadows. I probably should not be doing this when I've turned my tablet off and only using my horrendous trackpad. But oh well. You use what you got. Here. Circle. Do that there. Do that there. Do that there. And then we go on to filter, blur, motion blur. There we go, now they're actually standing on the stage instead of just floating above it. Simpson is to cartoons like Seinfeld to sitcoms. The Simpsons has like a fascinating track record. I've actually got a book. I think I might have mentioned it before. I have a book called 1001 TV Shows to Watch Before You Die, in which the introduction to it says, we know what the name of this book is, but please don't watch every single TV show in this book before you die, because it'll literally kill you. There are not enough hours in a person's life to watch every single TV show. But my point is, The Simpsons is very fascinating because you can kind of track the history of The Simpsons through television, through the TV shows that came before it, going all the way back to the 50s. It's very interesting because you have like the Honeymooners, and the Honeymooners was inspired by something, but I can't remember what. But you had the Honeymooners, and then the Honeymooners led to the Flintstones. And then the Flintstones was part of it, but then also the 1980s sitcom boom also was part of The Simpsons, like what developed The Simpsons as a kind of counterculture to the super saccharine sitcoms of the 80s. And then also Saturday Night Live played a very big part in the creation of The Simpsons. So The Simpsons is kind of this like focal point for all these television shows throughout television history, especially in America, all coming together into one show. It's fascinating, or at least it's fascinating to me, because that's the kind of things that I really like digging into and like looking at, because I like seeing things in context. And it's amazing where you can zoom out further and further to see more and more context to a certain subject, and where it gets to a point. If you've watched my video on why 1930s cartoons are like that, you know what I'm talking about. Because I made a video a while back, which I still quite like, even though it's only partially monetized. One of my earlier videos, which I was quite proud of, was about why 1930s cartoons are the way they are. Like, why they're so weird and why they can seem very creepy. And it's a video about Fleischer cartoons, but then I'm talking about like Dadaism and not modern art, the surrealist art movements, and I'm like talking about Duchamp, the artist, and I'm talking about the First World War, and I'm talking about jazz, and I'm talking about like the roots of jazz music, and I'm talking about the jazz scene as it existed in 1930s New York, and I talk about the Hays Code. I talk about like all these things just to explain why 1930s cartoons look weird. That video is what convinced me to Patreon you. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like it. I think maybe my way of delivering narration in videos has improved just because I've done a few since then. So I think the way I deliver information is maybe a bit more entertaining and a bit more engaging than when I made that video. However, I'm still very proud of that video anyway, because I felt I put a lot of time into researching it and really put in a lot of work into trying to communicate my perspective on the issue. Not really issue, but my perspective on cartoons and the way I look at cartoons in general, in this case 1930s cartoons, but in a larger aspect, how I look at context and how I think about context as it applies to the cartoon I'm currently viewing. And that's why I approach shows like High Guardian, Spice, and Velma the way I do. And that's why in Velma I suddenly start talking about the movie M, which is a movie from Germany made in 1930 about a child killer. And I gotta be careful because YouTube keeps demonetizing my lives because of the things I talk about. But that's why I talk about that movie seemingly out of the blue, even though it seems like a very strange comparison to make to Velma. But it's because I always think about things in this giant context, so that in my brain, it makes perfect sense to talk about that film being about a mystery involving a murderer and how that event affects everybody in the town or city or whatever it is, and how that movie has absolutely no likable characters. There is nobody to root for in that movie. There is no good guy. There is no hero. And why it's still an exceptionally fascinating and engaging story versus Velma, which is about the same topic and is also a series where none of the characters are likable, and yet it's a terrible story. It's just a terrible TV show. So to me, it makes sense. But I think to a lot of people, it's like, how on earth did you come to this comparison? And it's like, I don't know. This is just how my brain works. It was very well done. It was so clear how much research you had done. Thank you. I kind of only scratched the surface on certain things, but I try to not say things that I didn't at least double check or look up, because I really don't want to spread misinformation. It's like one of my not biggest fears, I guess, but it is a fear I have of spreading misinformation, because I have seen how YouTubers only having half an understanding of what they're talking about can say extremely damaging, terrible things. And this is not a call out on the guy, because I have nothing against him, but Rubber Ross, in one of his live streams, he casually mentioned that Hergé, the artist of Tintin, that he did art for, YouTube's gonna hate this live. Hergé did art for the Nazi party, and that was his point. He's like, did you know that Hergé apparently did art for Germany during that time? Sorry, I'm trying to avoid getting demonetized. And I was furious because that's all he had to say. And I wanted to put my face in my hands, because I'm like, Ross, you can't just say something like that on a live stream, because you are essentially accusing Hergé of being a Nazi. Whereas the reality is Hergé is Belgian, first of all. And Belgium, if you are unaware, was kind of invaded by Germany during this time, and was kind of under German occupation, to the point that Belgium couldn't even use their own currency anymore. They had to use this fake-ass currency that Germany gave to them, made out of lead. I've got a few coins lying around somewhere of it. They were not allowed to be a country. And so Hergé, who had like very anti-German characters in his comics before the German occupation, was forced by that party to do propaganda art, which he had to do because they kind of might have shot him if he didn't. That's the context, Ross. But you didn't communicate that context, and you only had half the story, so you have inadvertently spread the information that Hergé was a Nazi, because that is what you were saying by only giving this surface level input about the situation. It's not that it was wrong, it's just you have miscommunicated something so horribly and possibly severely damaged a person's reputation who isn't even alive anymore and can't defend themselves, to your 3 million subscriber audience. I'm sorry, I'm getting heated. It makes me furious. It makes me furious that you could be that irresponsible. So my point is, I have a big thing about trying my best not to spread misinformation by not double checking something. And if I'm going to say something serious, if I'm going to be talking about a very serious topic in history, I want to make very sure that I am saying the correct information. I might get one or two things a little bit not 100% correct, but I will be damned if I accidentally do that amount of damage just because I did not think to research something before saying it, right? So, sorry, I got really heated about that, but it's because I get so angry about it because it's such an injustice. It's such an injustice on a person's name and like doing serious harm due to thoughtlessness, right? And that's what makes me furious. It makes me furious because it's injustice and it's not fair. And you're hurting somebody who did nothing to deserve this, to deserve it, just because you wanted to say something like a random piece of trivia that you half remembered. And Ross couldn't even remember that he was Belgian. He was like, he was German, right? I'm like, Ross, stop talking. Please stop talking about this topic if you don't have the information in front of you, because you are doing a lot of damage here. But anyway, I'm going to stop. I'm not calling the guy out. It was like 5 minutes in a live stream he did a year ago. It's not something he himself believes. It's a random trivia he got wrong in a live stream, and it just got me very angry because I found it irresponsible. It's not a reflection on Ross as a person. Prof, as a history buff and a weeb, you heard about Heiki Monogatari and Yoshitsune. I have not, so you might have to inform me what those are specifically. Nobody show her a Nostalgia Critic video. She might go nuclear from them. It depends. I don't really watch the Nostalgia Critic anymore. I did watch a lot of him before 2012. Around 2012, when he started reviewing recent movies and he started doing a lot of skits, I kind of stopped watching him because I didn't enjoy that method of video making. And then I kind of outgrew his style. I think he makes good points sometimes. I think sometimes he does not. And The Wall is a travesty. Like, The Wall is another one that gets me furious. But that's the kind of furious where I would take like an hour to try and explain why it makes me as angry as it does. However, just because The Wall is this awful piece of content that he's made, it doesn't mean he's always wrong. He has said things which I found very correct. He talked about the Lorax movie, and I'll never forget this because I thought it was an extremely insightful observation, where he said that he hated the concept in the Illumination Lorax movie that the bad guy in the Lorax movie is just a bad guy, whereas in the original Lorax story, the message of that story was that anybody can do this amount of damage. Whereas in the new Lorax movie, it communicates that, oh no, sweetie, you can't be a bad person like that for littering because you are good and he's a bad guy. And it kind of removes this sense of like responsibility, where the old Lorax actually imposes that upon its audience that you could be this kind of person. It doesn't matter if you're good or bad. If you are littering, if you are damaging the environment, it doesn't matter if you're a good or bad person. That's something that you might be responsible of. And that was an observation that the Nostalgia Critic made that I thought was extremely insightful and extremely well communicated and deconstructed. So I don't think he's a hack like a lot of other people think. He just doesn't really present his content in a way that I find enjoyable. I still watch James Rolfe now and then. I do still enjoy James Rolfe. But the Nostalgia Critic I kind of outgrew, I guess is the best way to put it. But I don't think he's a complete hack. He has some terrible takes, and I don't think his opinion on comedy was correct in the past, because he had this opinion that all comedy stems from somebody getting hurt, which isn't true at all. But I don't think he's always wrong. So that's my opinion on the Nostalgia Critic. The new Lorax was nightmarish perversion of the themes of the story, especially with the marketing campaign around it. Yeah, it was not good. It was not good. Long story short, early medieval epic. It's like the Iliad for the Japanese. That is a simplification. It is a fascinating story about the Genpei War. Okay, I have to look that up. My understanding of Japanese history is very shallow. I mainly understand the Showa era the best. And really the only reason I know the Showa era is because I read a lot of manga, which isn't like fiction manga, it's like autobiography manga. One of my favorite mangaka is Shigeru Mizuki, and Shigeru Mizuki made a 4 or 5 part manga series. Each of them are like Bible thick, talking about his personal experiences growing up in the Showa era, and it's through him and Awaking Life and a lot of the Japanese films and their behind the scenes and how they got made. So I kind of know the Showa era the best, but I'm not super clued up on a lot of Japanese history apart from like a surface level. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, okay, if 10 billion people think littering isn't bad, how's the environment gonna handle that? I mean, I guess. Please, he couldn't know good movies if they kicked him in the face. I can't really say much for his taste, but he has made good points about films in the past. He has made, most of the time he doesn't have great takes though. I find that his takes are really shallow and surface level, but he's not always wrong. It's absolutely worth noting that both Illumination and the adaptation of Dr. Seuss made them pro-consumer. Grinch is a more insidious way by making his hatred of Christmas coming from his desires to participate in Christmas, not because it's chintzy and money-driven. Yeah, but that's Illumination, like what do you expect, right? I don't have a high opinion of Illumination, I'm afraid to say. I still need to see the Mario movie, though. You should watch the Boyuden Japanese History's videos. Very well researched, going over Japan's history chronologically. Let me actually open that in a tab, because I am not going to remember that name at all. And I'm going to hang around for another 10 minutes, and then I'm going to say goodnight, just for my poor throat. My throat has been suffering this week. We have had gale force winds, like, all week, and it has not been great for my throat at all. So the fact that I've been able to talk for 3 hours is actually kind of a miracle, because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to be very energetic this stream just for the sake of my throat, but I somehow managed it. Lorax did give an animated crush to people that's not half animal. I mean, I guess. The Mario movie is the best video game and Illumination movie. I would have to see if it's the best video game movie, because my opinion is always that the best video game movie I've ever seen is the Professor Layton movie. That is like a genuinely great adaptation of a video game, and part of it is because the people who do the cutscenes for the Professor Layton games, like Level 5, they literally just did the movie. Like, the people who do the cutscenes for the video games just made the movie. How bad could it possibly be? Oh, shut up. I'm very much looking forward to Ridley Scott's new Napoleon movie, even if my expectations are not exactly high. I did not know he's doing a Napoleon movie, but I really like Ridley Scott, so I'd be behind that. I still need to see Waterloo, though. Mainly because Waterloo is like 3 hours long. But it's on YouTube for some reason, not like by the actual studio. Somebody just put it on YouTube. But again, it's 3 hours long, and oof, 3 hours is a sit. It's a long time to sit and watch a movie. I was around on Tumblr for the Once era, and I still can't comprehend it. Anything else? Professor Layton was such a formative series to me. I still hold Layton's gentlemanly ideals of masculinity very close to my heart. I need to play more of them. I've played a few of them, but it took me a very long time to get my hands of Unwound Future, and I didn't want to play the others until I'd played Unwound Future, and I haven't played it yet, so I need to get to that. But I will say that Layton vs. Phoenix Wright is like it's probably the best 3DS game I've ever played, and it is possibly in my top 10 favorite games. Like, that is a phenomenal game. That game did not get... tripping on my words because I'm tired. That game did not need to go as hard as it did on the story. Like, that game is legitimately well run. It's well written. It's insane. A lot of the plot is ridiculous, but it's so well written, and you like really care about the characters, and you really care about what they're going through, and you care about what happens to them, and they all form like friendships with each other. Like, Phoenix forms a real friendship with Luke, which I really, really enjoy. And they didn't need to write that. They didn't need to write any of that, but they did, and I really enjoy it. The Napoleon movie is set to come out in a couple of weeks, so you don't have to wait that long. Unwound Future is so sad. Yeah, that's also why I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm like, how much emotional damage do I feel like doing to myself this week? And I'm already playing Mass Effect 3, and you know that's gonna have me crying for like at least a month, maybe 2. And I already know how it ends, but I have made the decision to hurt myself emotionally again, because you know it's fun. My favorite latent games are probably Spectre's Call and Miracle Mask. Yeah, I've got both of them. I just need to play them still because I haven't played Unwound Future yet. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is great and one of the best Disney TV shows I have ever seen. Have you seen it? No, I'm not familiar because I don't have like Disney Plus or anything like that. By the way, CBuff, Marvel or DC? It depends because the two are kind of these massive entities where it depends like what you're talking about. If it comes to movies, as much as I hate to say it, I would go Marvel, but only because Marvel has Guardians of the Galaxy. That's like the only reason I choose Marvel over DC. However, DC has some of the best animated movies, and DC also has the best animated TV shows. So if it's like overall, I would go with DC. And also because I love the Guardians of the Galaxy. I love them to death. But I really like Batman. Specifically, I like Batman as the guy who accidentally keeps adopting children. And the guy who's like best friends with Superman. Like, that's what I like about Batman. I find that dynamic very interesting. Like, don't change the character. Don't make him softer. Don't make him more like, what's the word? Like cottagecore. Don't do that. Keep the character exactly as is. Keep all the stories as is, but put more of a focus on like him adopting children all the time and his friendship with Superman and like the weird dynamic they have going on there where Superman is 80% his best friend and 20% menace that trolls him. Like, I really enjoy that dynamic. So it depends. It depends like what you focus on with DC and Marvel. People don't like my opinion about Unwound Future. Oh, predictable? Couldn't suspend my disbelief. I mean, I haven't played it yet, but I can see that being a valid criticism of anything, really. Do you like any black metal? Black metal isn't my favorite. I prefer power metal, and I guess speed metal is... I just like Dragon Force, so I don't think it's like speed metal in general. I just like Dragon Force. But power metal is kind of more what I'm into. I like symphonic metal as well, but power metal, that's like the favorite. All my favorite metal bands are all power metal bands, which is like Blind Guardian, Powerwolf, Sabaton, Angus McSix. Who's the other one? There's another one I really like, and I'm blanking on the name now. I can't remember. I think I said Powerwolf. The bat meme of Bruce bringing home children like a stray cat is good culture. It is though. It's so good. It's so funny. And I think 1 or 2 more questions and then I'm going to call it for the night. And I'll put, I don't even really need to slap a background on Pomni. She's kind of good as is. I don't really need to do anything to her. Let me see. 20. So if I... 34. Yeah, 34 is good. Export single layer, JPEG, Pomni, JPEG. Quality 100. And scale 34. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Oh, maybe I should turn Kirby off. Do you guys want the Pomni with the Kirby's or the Pomni without the Kirby's on the community post? I played Professor Layton in chronological order rather than by release order, and when Unwound Future is your 6th game, you kind of understand the logic to the universe it takes place in. Oh, okay, I understand, yeah. Do I like Deftones? I'm not super familiar with Deftones. Marvel is not a passionate workshop anymore, it's just an empty assembly line. Yeah, at the moment, but I mean, it's Disney, so what do you expect, right? With Kirby? Okay, so we'll keep Kirby. Kirby can stay. Anybody who wasn't in stream is going to be supremely confused, but you know what? That's their problem. It's not my problem. Without, please? Oh no! Can you put more than one picture on a community tab? I don't actually know. Hold on. Go here. Create post. I don't know. I know that because I'm picturing Reddit. I know Reddit, you have like 2 pictures in it. You can like drag up to 5 images. Okay, so you can put more than one. Okay, we'll do both. But then I'm gonna have to make a new shadow layer because now she's got like the Mickey Mouse shadow, and that's no good. Let's make another one. Multiply. Circle. Do that. Filter. Motion blur. Yeah, just same as it was. Export single layer. JPEG. Pomni 2. All the export's the same, and there we go. Okay, I'll put both up on not the mouse. I'll put both up on the community tab. Have you listened to The Awakening? Probably my favorite band from South Africa. Not really. Like I said, I kind of watch the Vakken stream whenever it happens, and then I take note of which bands I like, and then I kind of start listening to that band. That's kind of how I find metal bands. So a lot of them do end up being German, or at least European. And one more question, and then I'm gonna call it, because otherwise I will die. Have you seen The Ancient Mage's Bride? Goes deep into European folklore. I really like The Ancient Mage's Bride, but I need to watch the second season. And I hear the second season, unfortunately, kind of falls off. It kind of loses the plot a little bit. But I really like the first season. But I also was like, oh, I can't wait to see where this goes. I bet that the way that the first season ends, which is a little bit clumsy, gets resolved in the second season a little bit better, so that the season 1 ending isn't so clumsy. But unfortunately that seems to not be the case, and then it became like a magic Harry Potter school once more. Usually exporting JPEGs above about 90% doesn't actually add any perceived quality in my experience as a photographer. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. It's more a goth rock and dark wave band than metal. Okay. Season 2 is in school. Good going so far. Yeah, like I said, I just heard that some people were quite disappointed that it takes place in the Harry Potter magic school, because that's not really what they wanted when they started watching it. And I can understand that being a criticism. Like, I understand why that's super frustrating. Especially if you're not really into... I use Harry Potter as a example, but if you are not into the magic school as a setting, it's extremely disappointing. And I am one of those people where I don't really enjoy or find it super interesting to have a school as the main setting. I can handle it in anime because, I mean, anime very often focuses on teenagers and they go to school a lot of the time, so what are you going to do? But I don't find high school as a particularly fantastic point in my life, so I'm not very interested in a show that's like, look at how cool this high school is, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm really not interested in how awesome your high school is. I'd rather not be in high school, thank you very much. A lot of mysteries to solve. High school sucks both in life and in stories. I think it can be cool. It just, like I said, if you're trying to sell me on the concept of how awesome a high school is, it's like, no, I'm sorry. It's hard disagree. And best thing about high school for me was marching band. See, we didn't have band. Okay, I think that's going to be it for me because of my poor throat. I am going to end you... Well, I'm going to end you. No, I'm going to end the stream with a song that the OC Remix put up last week, I think. And I was thinking of starting the stream with it, but I know some people have the stream open in a tab before it starts. And so they have like a big risk of getting jump scared by the music. So I didn't want to start the stream with this because I didn't want to give everyone a heart attack by just jumping straight to this at the end of the stream. So I'm putting it here at the end. But that's going to be it for me. Please end me. Don't say that with the ooh-woo face at the end. I barely notice your voice. Soft suits you so much. I barely noticed. I'm not entirely sure what you're trying to communicate there. But again, I'm tired. I've had a tiring week, cleaning up a lot of sakuga. So my brain is mush. So that's probably my fault more than it is yours. Dark Frostar says, Ja, matte ne. I saw somebody at the start of the stream put up katakana that said, Arto streamu. And I've been working on my katakana, so I was proud of myself for being able to read that. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. I didn't make a Halloween-themed end of stream, so I guess we're going to just use our regular end of stream here. There we go. And I will see you guys next month if Patreon remains with the tier unlocked. But at this point, it looks like, unless something goes horribly wrong, the tier should still be unlocked next month. So I'll see you guys then. Bye, guys.
Activity level 1. Protection unit. Prostitution.